It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech. Jason Hiner is here, editor-in-chief of ZDNet. Molly White of the Web3 is going just great website. And from This Week in Google, Paris Martineau, we're going to talk about, of course, the Trumpcoin and now the competing Melania coin. I kid you not. Molly will explain a little bit about the technology behind meme coins. We'll also talk about insurance spying on you. Isn't that a good way to bring down premiums? Maybe not. And what Apple's going to do with its AI-based news alerts. I'll give you a hint. Bye-bye. It's all coming up next on This Week in Tech.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 1015, recorded Sunday, January 19th, 2025. Smarter than a house cat. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech. What a week, and what a week it is. If you're not interested in TikTok, this might not be the show for you. What a saga. Let me introduce our panel. Molly White is here. So glad to have Molly White of the famous Web3 is going just great. Her newsletter, Citation Needed. She's an expert. She's a longtime Wikipedia editor. I brought you on because we were thinking about Wikipedia, but then things happened. And there's other things to talk about. Very nice to have you, Molly. It's great to see you.
Good to be back.
Yes. Jason Hiner is also here, editor-in-chief of ZDNet, longtime friend of the show. One time you elected me president. And that's,
of the internet.
Of the internet. Well, at the time, that was really the most important thing to be president of, but that's true. Times have changed. It's true. Welcome back. Fair. Good to see you, Jason.
Always a pleasure.
Also, from This Week in Google, the wonderful Paris Martineau. Hello.
Wait, so Leo, is it you who's getting inaugurated tomorrow?
Tomorrow I will be, no, my term as president of the internet ended and no one replaced me, right, Jason?
Huh, no, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
It was unending. The term never ended. You are still the president of the internet. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't crowned yourself king at this point.
It was a smaller time then. Well, you know,
Leo,
what I
I've
realize
got some
now,
notes for you on your tenure then.
I take no responsibility for anything that happened after 1998. I should have, as it turns out, created my own meme coin, and I could have been rich.
It's true.
So
it's fair.
We'll do the TikTok. We'll get to the TikTok. I'm waiting to see what happens. There's something could happen in the next 10 minutes, so I just want to make sure we get the latest news.
I've heard it's been going in and out since we got on this.
Last night, I'm watching the football game, and somebody says TikTok's down. I said, it's only 7:30. It's supposed to end at midnight. And of course, TikTok, they shut down early. And it's really clear at this point it was a stunt, right? That they wanted everybody in the world to know that it was, you know, the U.S. government shut us down. And it even said, fortunately, President Trump says he's going to save us. So stay tuned. And this morning, I get up. He's not president, by the way. President-elect Trump saved him miraculously, and it's back up.
But it says in the message, President Trump saved us, which I think is a bit telling. It's just incredibly odd how heavy-handed they are being with the political theater here. I mean, I think anyone watching this kind of understood intuitively that even when TikTok signaled earlier this week in messages to employees that were reported on first by the information, like that, hey, we're going to go dark on Sunday, which they technically didn't have to do.
Well, that was not clear that they didn't. I mean, the law didn't require it, I guess, huh?
Well, it's judging by the fact that right now they're no longer dark, I would say that throws into question the whole thing. Because yes, the law requires them to like what is happening here is the law penalizes both ByteDance, TikTok, the company, for remaining active in violation of this law, as well as everybody downstream and upstream of them. That's the app store like providers, as well as like hosting companies like Oracle, and I'm forgetting the other one. It starts with an A. And those penalties range anywhere from I think like $500 per user per instance to like $5,000 per user per instance. And it's not just unique downloads. So that adds up to hundreds of billions of dollars of potential liabilities for these companies. And nothing has changed except for TikTok says that Trump essentially reached out to Oracle and the one other internet service provider kind of working on the back end and assured them that he wouldn't come after them for those fines, which is a bit of a question mark for me because I'm not sure that Trump has the power to do that or not if he was president.
Strange. So this is a law that was duly passed by Congress, signed by the president, took effect on the 19th today, as we record. Of course, TikTok appealed it all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, 9-0, said the First Amendment does not protect you because you're a foreign entity and you're an enemy of the country, and for security reasons, trump the First Amendment. And they voted 9-0. I mean, this was a very clear vote that, no, you're going to be shut down on Sunday. Justice Kagan, and we talked about this on Wednesday, Paris, with our friend Kathy Gellis, who is admitted to the Supreme Court, was at the oral hearings, and she told us that Justice Kagan said it would be problematic if a president could just unilaterally say, yeah, we're not going to do that. We don't want to put the president in a situation where he overrides Congress and the Supreme Court. Trump's not even president, but apparently can do that.
Well, I think it's an executive branch sort of thing. Like the job of the executive branch is to carry out the laws.
Enforce it. So you can say, I'm not going to enforce it.
Right. So I think on a technicality, that's their stance. But it did go. I mean, even Apple released a statement last night, saying, quote unquote, Apple is obligated to follow the laws in the jurisdictions where it operates pursuant to the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. Apps developed by ByteDance Limited and its subsidiaries, including TikTok, CapCut, Lemonade, and others, will no longer be available for download or updates on the App Store starting January 19th, 2025. So it was
it's worth noting that hasn't changed, despite the fact that TikTok is now available to people who already had it downloaded.
That's right.
The app stores still haven't blinked on this. And I'm fascinated as to what the internal conversations are like happening behind closed doors at a place like Oracle, because technically they're taking on hundreds of billions of dollars of liability. And these financial provisions, as misguided as many people believe they are, they do have like provisions in them that the government told the Supreme Court last week that it could conceivably enforce these financial penalties up to 5 years later. So like Oracle could be penalized under whoever the next president is.
They're taking on a lot of risk.
Yeah. That's a huge amount of risk.
Ellison, the Oracle guy, is a big Trump guy too. So, he may be making this into a political thing, or at least very willing to listen to Trump's promises.
Well, I mean, if you want to pull that thread, one of the big investors in TikTok is an American and a Republican donor, Trump donor, Jas, who owns 15% and did in fact talk to Trump shortly before he changed his mind on TikTok. There's Jeff Yass. There's also the fact that the CEO of TikTok went to Mar-a-Lago and sat down and broke bread with President-elect Trump and Elon Musk. And then there's the invitation to sit next to Musk in the inaugural dais tomorrow. So there's very clear message. But this is what America wanted. Right? This is not what Congress wanted, not what Trump wanted in 2020 when he first declared that he was going to ban TikTok, not what Biden wanted when he signed the law, not what the 9 justices of the Supreme Court wanted, but 171 million Americans who use TikTok seem pretty clear. I asked my son, who, And I've said this before, and I should probably say it again. I have a conflict of interest on this because my son is a TikTok chef who has a very good career because of TikTok, clearly because of TikTok. He decided to start posting videos of him making sandwiches on TikTok, went from a few thousand followers to 2.5 million followers in a matter of months, parlayed that into a cookbook. Oh, by the way, he wasn't dumb. He parlayed that into an Instagram account as well, and is opening a restaurant in Manhattan in 2 months, all because of TikTok's algorithm. I asked him today, do you think that could have happened on Facebook, on Instagram, Facebook's Instagram? He said, no. He said, TikTok's algorithm is what made me. The algorithm is much better than anything else. But he was also smart enough to move to Insta. He says he knows many, many people who were telling him, I'm going to have to go back to work. He had a friend who quit his job last week because TikTok was making him money. And he says he's going to have to go back hat in hand to get his job back. Many millions of Americans made money on TikTok. Henry never got much money from TikTok directly, but the advertising he sold on his TikTok channel made it so he never had to work, right? It's been a huge success. So TikTok would have been a lot of creators disenfranchised by this ban.
Something I think that is interesting about this, 'cause I mean, it does seem like, assuming everything plays out the way it seems poised to right now, which is kind of a silly statement because I'm sure that will change about 20 times during just the recording of this show. But if Trump somehow manages to block or stop the enforcement of this from his perspective, I'm curious as to what is going to happen, because it seems like there are still a number of parties out there that technically have standing to sue, to challenge the lack of enforcement of this in court. Like, it's unclear exactly who that would be, but maybe like TikTok users who supported the ban, or, competitors of TikTok. They could ostensibly sue and say it's like they're having harm for the fact that the government is not following the law and enforcing this, and that could result in financial penalties for all these companies too, as well as like a lengthy, costly legal battle. I'm just baffled that this is in this strange limbo right now.
It's not in limbo. I don't know if it's in limbo. There may even be a constitutional crisis created by Trump not enforcing the law.
The TikTok constitutional crisis. Welcome to 2025.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny, Molly?
Boy.
I do
One of my friends was
Molly,
joking.
We've been talking about this. I'm sorry, you started saying something and I interrupted you. What do you think?
I was just going to say, I think it's really interesting that the Supreme Court sort of took the stance that this is about whether or not like TikTok or China has a right to freedom of speech. And they sort of didn't address the freedom of information aspect of it, where, Supreme Court decisions in the past have established that people have a right to receive information. And, the idea that this needs to be blocked because it is like China who doesn't have a free speech right just seems really out there to me, especially compared to past decisions.
Well, as Kathy Gellis has said, it's not the free speech of China, it's the free speech of the 170 million Americans who are on TikTok.
Right,
You are shutting them down.
Yeah, and a lot of the conversation about the Supreme Court decision has been basically like, well, China doesn't have a free speech right, which seems like very, very misguided as far as, the way that speech even happens online.
Well, we don't make our laws based on what China does and doesn't do. I'm sorry.
Well, we apparently do.
Yeah, that's not a good basis for making or not making a law. There is the question of whether TikTok is some sort of a security risk, and the Supreme Court said it overrides any First Amendment concerns that the Congress has decided that there is. Congress and the intelligence agencies have never given us those reasons. They've just said, take it on faith. It's a Chinese company, so it's a problem.
Yeah, but I mean, there have been plenty of cases that have gone to the Supreme Court in the past that have made those arguments that have not come out in favor of the government. I mean, the Pentagon Papers case is a good example where they argued, this is a security risk. You can't publish this. And, the Supreme Court didn't shut down the New York Times. They said that, people have a right to receive information. And, this is something that you can publish. And we ended up with the Pentagon Papers. And now it seems like a sort of total reversal of that stance based on sort of hand-wavy national security concerns that have not been really discussed. I mean, I sort of understand that, the government can't just come out and say, detail every national security concern that they have, but there is a lot of just sort of like, no, trust us, China is doing something nefarious that we can't tell you about. And there's been no reporting really of what that might be.
Yeah, I think perhaps the reason that the Supreme Court acted the way it did, because it was a little bit of a separation of powers issue, potentially, because the Congress had passed this, we can debate the merits of it, and the president signed it. I think for the Supreme Court to overrule it and uphold it, it would have to be, my understanding is there would have to be like overwhelming evidence that this encroached on constitutional rights, or very clear abrogation of laws. And I think that because there was some lack of clarity and confusion, my interpretation was the reason why the Supreme Court didn't act was because it is so gray, and it for them to overrule the vote of the Congress and the signature of the president, it would have to be something that was really clear and essentially kind of egregious for them to do it. That's how I understood it from a legal standpoint, let alone sort of the merits of it, because there's some real interesting issues, debates at the heart of this that I think are worth talking about. But I think that's why they didn't act.
There are constitutional issues that are raised by it, though, and Kathy Gellis has said, and somebody is pointing out, we're not attorneys, and we're not attempting to be attorneys, but Kathy Gellis is admitted to, in fact, to talk before the Supreme Court, so she presumably knows of which she speaks. She said that the Supreme Court's decision raises some serious issues, and the court has perhaps not only undermined the First Amendment, but also given the president some powers that he didn't previously have. Not that that's the first time they've done that. So it's just a weird situation. It's pretty clear TikTok brought itself down as a stunt, right, last night, knowing that would get people up in arms and get everybody's attention, because they didn't stay down for very long. I mean,
they played their cards really well. For all, again, sort of the values of the thing aside, TikTok played this thing really well. They said, like, look, if they pass the ban, we're just shutting down. Like, we're not going to keep appealing and all that. And I think they counted on the fact that there would be an outcry. Right?
Yeah. The big losers on this are the Democrats, frankly, and Biden. Trump comes off looking like a savior, and TikTok's, by the way,
which is particularly crazy because he's the one that started all of this. He's the one who instigated the TikTok ban, and yet he gets the credit for stopping what he started.
I feel like the national memory is a little bit shorter than a couple of years.
Yeah, it's just wild. Yeah. So there are people. So what will probably happen? We don't know. Trump is going to have to issue an executive order. Honestly, I don't think this is the most important thing he'll be weighing in on January 20th. But he says,
crypto.
Yeah, there are a few other things. Deporting everybody in Chicago apparently is also on the agenda. But he apparently what he's going to do is extend the deadline, which is the least legally troubling thing he can do, rather than saying, I don't like this law, I'm not going to enforce it. He's going to extend the deadline and give an American company a chance to buy. There are a lot of suitors. It's not clear who's going to win in this one. Larry Ellison, of course, is there, but so is Elon Musk. The TikTok ByteDance has denied that, but there have been reports that Musk is interested in buying at least a part of TikTok.
Well,
so are many others. Perplexity, an AI company called Perplexity, has put its hat in the ring. And of course, the former owner of the LA Dodgers, Frank McCourt, says, I got $20 billion right here. I'm ready to throw it at you. China has said, we're not going to let TikTok sell the algorithm.
Something that I think is interesting, though, is if Trump wants to use the option, you can trigger this 90-day extension. In order to do that, he has to certify to Congress that TikTok has agreed to sell. And I don't know if that's entirely correct that TikTok has agreed to sell. Because I think in order to sell TikTok, you'd have to sell parts that China has said TikTok cannot sell.
Right.
Namely the algorithm.
And what's sad is, okay, to me, TikTok is the least danger. I mean, China is allowed to propagandize us on X, on Elon Musk's own platform, as is Russia, and on Meta. And nobody's doing anything about that. If you're concerned about China propagandizing us, Americans are the most thoroughly propagandized people in the world, I think, at this point, on all sides. We're fed misinformation from all directions. So that's not a really good argument. The second argument is, oh, well, they're getting all of our data. That's a terrible argument because Congress is clearly unwilling to pass, and this was TikTok's argument for the Supreme Court. Congress, if they wanted to, could protect us by passing a comprehensive data privacy bill. They clearly don't want that. And anyway, China doesn't need TikTok to get all that information. They just can buy it on the open market because Meta's collecting it and selling it on, as is everybody else. Data brokers have all that information.
I mean, I think we know that China doesn't have to buy it. That for years they've
can get it all sorts of ways.
AT&T. They've exfiltrated data. I guess I think the data argument it is a little bit compelling though, because the ease at which they can, their sort of government censors could have access to the data is a little bit different. From that standpoint. Now, supposedly it's because of data sovereignty and Oracle now, the way they store the data and that. But so, who knows what the reality is? I think there's not many people who do. But I think that the ease of access to data and the ability to manipulate the algorithm, I think there is something to that. I mean, there have been so many videos that talk about channels that just as an experiment, that they went to TikTok, they created a huge following, they said one negative thing about the Chinese government, like overnight 90% right drops.
There's no question about that.
But
of course,
I think
you can't say pixel fed on Meta either. So.
I was going to say, yeah, you can really replicate that experiment anywhere else. I mean, say cisgender
but
on Twitter.
Those are American censors, guys. That's different.
Okay, so maybe there is a threat from TikTok. It does seem weird that our government's focused on that instead of so many other things that are so threatening. And we're spending so many cycles on this subject. It's just a social network. It's not that important.
I mean, I do think it's the consequence of this increased, not to, bring up a phrase from this week in Google that we use, but this phase of moral panics that we've been seeing over the last couple of years.
You've been listening to Jeff Jarvis.
Think of the children. Think of, there has been this huge whipping up of fear and rage over companies like TikTok, and it also is coming at a time of increased xenophobia and fear of anything that is foreign. And it makes sense, of course, that the natural conclusion of this would be the kind of first foray into something actually happening, a ban of a foreign social media platform that spirals out of control, where none of the people actually enforcing it seem like they want to be enforcing it. But we've gotten to this point anyway.
Yeah, and I think there's also just sort of the larger conversation about, access to information and sort of the ability to, disseminate and receive information that is really changing in recent times, where Republicans were sort of once the the party of free speech. And now, we're seeing these sort of unprecedented attacks on the press from Donald Trump and other allies. There's been sort of bipartisan attacks on speech coming, with TikTok, with other proposed bills around moral panics with, kids' online safety and, those types of bills, age verification, access to content that's deemed obscene or, otherwise inappropriate for minors. And so it does feel like it's a part of sort of a broader pattern of cracking down on access to information that is really concerning, I think, especially going into this new administration where it seems like those types of things are going to heat up even more.
We don't mind social media as long as we control its use, in other words.
Right.
We as in, who's the we in that scenario, Leo? Like, as a society?
No. People in power.
People in power, okay.
I think we call them the oligarchs. I'm going to call them the oligarchs.
The oligarchs?
The oligarchs. It was also both. Interesting, the reaction of TikTok users. The number one app all week was Little Red Book. Or actually, what do they call it? Red Notebook. But it's Xiao Hongshu is Little Red Book. The CEO says, that's because I went to Stanford. But I think it's maybe more than a nod to Chairman Mao's Little Red Book. Anyway, Little Red Book was suddenly, even though it was mostly Chinese, suddenly the number one download on Apple's store.
And it was interesting seeing, on various, I didn't download it myself, but I saw a variety of posts from users who tried it out on various social networks. And the thing that struck me is many people were saying, I came to this new platform because on TikTok, I, really found a place for the LGBTQ community and to find fellow people in my community and express my sexual identity. And you cannot do that on Red Note or Red Book, whatever it's called.
And you can't probably do it on TikTok, can you? Maybe you can.
No, you can on TikTok, but you literally cannot use most hashtags in that are they're very stringent about that. And so I saw a bunch of people from these communities that I'm in posting, on Redbook you've got to do hashtag LE instead of lesbian because you can't put lesbian because then you'll get taken down. And I'm just like, how is this better? It's a
gesture. They know it's not better. It's a gesture. It's saying, go ahead and stop us. What are you going to do? You're going to stop everything? What are you going to do? And I think that's a strong signal. Really, the biggest losers here are the Democrats who fell for Trump's feint. He did a head feint. He said, "We're going to ban TikTok, right?" And they all fell for it. and then he said, "Gotcha."
I would argue. I think it's less. I think positioning it as Trump playing some 4D chess here is probably a little malinformed in the sense that I don't know we can say for certain that Trump had any idea that this was going to play out the way it did when he made that first executive order. I think that everybody was just reacting in terms of this, I don't know, wave of moral panic we've seen rise, and no one really thought about the consequences, and it ends up being the Democrats are left holding the bag in this.
Yeah, look, they made some real enemies among millennials and what's younger than millennial? Gen Alphas? Z? What's Gen the youngest? I don't know. I never liked those labels.
Gen Beta? Is it that's the ones that are just being born now?
Gen Beta? You all just jealous of us baby boomers because we have a legit designation, and you all just trying to get your own. But no, there's no X, Y,
they're all
piggybacking
off the Gen X.
Yeah, but that Gen X wanted to be baby boomers. That's all. They just didn't like it that we had a title.
Yeah, everyone wants to be baby boomers.
Everybody wants to be baby boomers. You know that. All right. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, there's just, I don't. All right, we're going to talk about, I want to find out, Molly's going to explain what Solana is. Right, and then we're going to find out.
This is your cross to bear, Molly. This is the curse
Molly.
that you have.
Sorry, Molly.
Taken upon myself. Yes.
You're the crypto expert here. You're watching This Week in Tech. Molly White is here. Web3 is going just great, and of course, Citation Needed, which is an excellent newsletter. You should all subscribe to. Find it all at mollywhite.net or Molly FXOOO, right? Did I get
Molly
that right?
0xFFF.
FFF.
Yep.
My hex is so bad. 0xFFF, which is hex for white.
White.
Clever. Thank you for being here, Molly. Jason Hiner from ZDNet. He is the man in charge, editor-in-chief at ZDNet. You've risen to the top, my friend.
I mean, of a sorts.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Congrats. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Always good to be here.
You deserve, I know no one who deserves it more than you. You're fantastic.
That's good.
And of course, the wonderful Paris Martineau, who works for the information, who had you mentioned it, but let's emphasize this: the scoop that TikTok was going to go down.
Not me, but my colleagues. I've been all over it all weekend. I've been watching. I mean, they're working right now.
Because it's a changing story. Yeah,
it's truly so impressive. I mean, and it's times like these that I'm happy to be in a newsroom that has a great China team as well.
So it was actually Oracle that started shutting down the servers, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why TikTok went offline last night. And part of the reason that it's so interesting that it came back today, because it seems to be as a result of these backroom negotiations between Trump giving these assurances and companies like Oracle. And again, I'm forgetting the name of the other one. It's like a Kami or something.
Yeah.
Wild
story.
Probably Akamai.
Akamai.
Right?
Hey, that's it. Akamai. Yeah.
Akamai. Yep.
They probably weren't hosting it, but they were providing CDN, I'm sure.
Yeah, cloud
Something
services.
like that.
Yeah. Our show today brought to you by Delete Me. Boy, we're talking, I mean, there is no national data privacy law. Seems not likely that there ever will be one. So it's up to you. It's up to all of us to protect our privacy online. Have you ever searched for your name online? Oh, it's depressing how much is right there in a search. And there's so much more, even up to your social security number, that data brokers can quite legally sell to anybody who wants it. Maintaining privacy is a concern for all of us, whether you're an individual, a business, even for your family. And that's why I recommend and we use Delete Me. It came up because our CEO was sending out, they were spear phishing attacks. She wasn't sending them, but messages from our CEO were going to our employees saying, quick, buy me some Amazon gift cards and send them to this address. I'm in a meeting right now. Now, our employees aren't dumb. They knew that was bogus because it's a small company, but it raised the issue for me. How do they know, what Lisa's phone number is, what her direct reports are, what company she works for? How do they have all this information? It's easy to get online. And that's when we signed up for Delete Me. And it works. And if your family is worried about privacy, you should check out Delete Me's family plan. They have corporate plans. They have a lot of plans, but the family plan makes it possible for everyone in the family to stay safe online. Why do you delete this stuff? Well, as I mentioned, there's a cybersecurity element, but there's also identity theft and there's harassment and there's just plain old privacy. Why do you close the door to the bathroom? You just deserve some privacy. Delete Me experts will find and remove your information from hundreds of data brokers. You know how we know it worked? Because when the national public data breach happened and literally hundreds of millions of social security numbers were revealed, Steve Gibson and I searched for our records, found our social security numbers in the breach. Then I said, let me try Lisa, and hers were not in there. She literally was not in the national public data breach because of Delete Me. With the family plan, you can assign a unique data sheet to each family member. It's tailored to them because everybody's a little different. Easy to use controls, which means account owners can manage privacy settings for the whole family. The main thing, whatever plan you get to know, is Delete Me not only will remove that information, but then they continue to do so. They continue to scan and remove your information regularly because those dossiers get repopulated. You can delete them, but you're still using the internet, right? Unless you delete them and move to a cabin in the woods, it's going to come back. And so you need to continually scan and remove this stuff. Plus, there's always new data brokers. Every day, new data brokers. Delete Me removes everything: addresses, photos, emails, relatives, your phone numbers, your social media, the value of your home. All of this stuff is out there. Protect yourself. Reclaim your privacy. Visit joindeleteme.com/twit. The offer code TWIT will get you 20% off. That's joindeleteme.com/twit. And don't forget the offer code TWIT for 20% off. That does two things. Gets you 20% off, but also lets them know, hey, they saw this on Twit. And that's helps us. Joindeleteme.com/twit. Offer code TWIT for 20% off. It really works. We know. We used it. So this is kind of unprecedented. I don't even know what to say. Thank goodness Molly White is here. And it's right at the top of Web3 is going just great. President-elect Trump, the day before his inauguration, created a meme coin. Trump, it's called. You call it an S coin. I'll call it a meme coin. $Trump. If you go to gettrumpmemes.com, you can buy it. And I'm not hiding it because so many people have done so. It is now worth, what is it, $32 billion?
Well, there's actually some sort of breaking news that changes that, which is that Melania Trump just launched her meme coin.
What? No!
And the Trump meme coin has crashed like 65%.
Wait a minute. People sold Trump to buy Melania?
Yeah, something like that.
No, come on. You're teasing
Trump
us now.
down, Melania up.
I am not joking.
What is the name of
Stashed.
Melania's coin?
Melania.
Boy, that's
Like
a
an
little
hour
weird.
ago. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like there's trouble in paradise. Here's a...
What? No. Between them?
Camelot, man. Here's the post from the new soon-to-be new president. My new official Trump meme is here. It's time to celebrate everything we stand for, winning. Get your $Trump now. Go to trumpmemes.com. Have fun.
Oh, boy.
Well, let me just see what it costs to do I have to give him money? Oh, you can buy it with a debit card or crypto. What? And it's based on Solana. Is that right, Molly?
That's correct, yes.
What is Solana?
So Solana is another blockchain, sort of like there's the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum, and then there's Solana. It was very popular around the Sam Bankman-Fried era. He was very into Solana, and then sort of had a nosedive around the time those things fell apart. But it's been back, and a lot of the recent meme coin trend has taken place on Solana.
Was Haktua a coin on Solana? Probably.
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah. So what that means is I could create a $Leo coin, but I wouldn't have to actually do any math. There's no math involved, right? I don't have to come up with miners or anything. This is all handled with this Solana does it.
Yeah, and there have been sort of these recent platforms developed to make it very easy for anyone to create a meme coin on Solana without necessarily having to have a ton of technical expertise. You've always been able to create your own, token on an Ethereum or Solana or anything like that, but some of these new platforms to really try to make it easier have caused this sort of explosion in interest in meme coins.
So 1 hour before we went on the air, Melania released Melania. It has grown 4,487% since. In the first hour, it's down a little now. Are people, you think, selling Trump to buy Melania?
Potentially. I mean, or people are getting out of Trump for other reasons, and they think that, this is all... a bad sign for the Trump financial world. I don't know. They're worried that the Trump meme coin is about to crash or something like that.
Trump is right now worth $45.47, but you're right. It did drop. It was started the day. It's almost $70. Right. So it is down 34%.
That's got to be the set price, right? Because 45, 47. His president numbers.
Oh, everybody's aiming at 47.
I think that's actually coincidence, but
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So the concern on this, I mean, my son, I'm talking to Henry about TikTok, and he said, by the way, is that legal?
It is now.
So, and that was one of the things, and one of the reasons the crypto industry was all in on Trump, because he said, we're going to fire Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, that's been saying that cryptocurrencies should be regulated like securities, which, I mean, that seems sensible to me. So, but it's very clear that under this new administration, they will not be regulated like securities, if at all, which means... And I guess the president-elect is basically announcing this by creating his own coin, as is Melania. Here is the Bank of Trump. And if you decide you want to contribute to the new administration without, all these rules and things, you just buy Trump coin. And presumably the president-elect has a big stake. Do we know how much?
I think 80% of the token is currently
so when the price
within
goes
their
up,
control.
His money, his value goes up, and he kind of, it's paper money, but so is Tesla stock. I mean, it's paper money, but it's a way of kind of indirectly giving money to our leader.
I would say rather directly, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing more directly is if you just write him a check, but there's all sorts of stickiness around that. So
right, yeah,
that's a regulated. This is not.
This is not regulated.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that much of a, the newest Trump meme coin is really not that much of a departure from his previous actions, where
he had a meme coin,
NFTs.
didn't he?
There were Trump-themed meme coins, but I don't know if any of those were ever definitively connected to him. There was actually a lot of
what was the coin that
speculation.
Barron did with him?
Barron has a coin?
No, Barron was the czar of a coin or something like that. He was the crypto officer.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things. There was a Trump-themed meme coin that was believed to have been backed by, that Barron Trump was speculated to be involved with, but that was all going off of claims by Martin Shkreli.
Well, there's a reliable source.
Yeah, and so he was never really definitively linked to that, but there is a project called World Liberty Financial, which is a crypto project that Trump is basically a beneficiary of, but he's not technically an officer of the company, even though he clearly has a strong say in the control of and direction of the project. But he makes 75% of protocol revenues off of that. And so people were already basically funneling money to Trump through that project.
What are protocol revenues? What is that? Is that like gas fees? What is that?
Yeah, so the thing with World Liberty Financial is that theoretically it's supposed to become a DeFi protocol where you could actually use the app to do crypto trading. And if you were to do so, that would generate revenue for the protocol, and then a percentage of that goes to Trump.
So they rake off a little bit.
Yeah, but in its current form, there is no functionality. So basically, it doesn't really do anything. But
this is more direct. The Trump coin.
This seems to be very direct, yes. And, there is really no business behind it in the way that World Liberty Financial at least claims that there will be some sort of app or something that you could use eventually, maybe.
Of course, immediately on X, there are pseudo accounts created.
Yes.
Like Trump
when I first saw the tweet about the Trump meme coin, I thought that Donald Trump's Twitter account had been hacked. That's what I assumed, because on Twitter, this happens all the time where celebrities' accounts are compromised and then they pretend to launch a meme coin and the hacker makes off with whatever revenue there is. And then eventually the person regains control of their Twitter account, and it turns out it wasn't their meme coin, it was just some person. And I assumed that was what was happening with the Trump coin, which I don't know why I didn't think it was likely that he would pull a stunt like this, which, in hindsight seems very in character for him. But
so there's only a 10% public allocation of this meme coin. 80% of it is the president-elect's money. 10% is going to somebody else. I don't know. Maybe that's Solana or gets that a cut or something. 10% goes to the public.
The idea is that over time, the 80% allocation would be released to the public, I believe. But at the moment, that is the case, yes.
So, and this is, if you listened to or read the interview that the New York Times Rasdutat did with Mark Andreessen, Mark's company, as you know, Mark Andreessen created Netscape, Mozilla before that, made a lot of money when Netscape went public and has become a venture capitalist. Many of their investments at Andreessen Horowitz are crypto companies, Web3. They were a big Web3 proponent. And Andreessen says this is why he's become radicalized. He was a Democrat his whole life, but he realized the Democrats wanted to kill crypto. He's the one who talked about debanking of crypto companies on Joe Rogan. The Democrats wanted to kill crypto, and so he's become a real supporter of the Republicans and especially of Donald Trump because Donald Trump's pro-crypto. But you can see the problem with crypto right here, that it is because it's unregulated, it's a really easy way to scam people like crazy.
It's a
Not
scam
to mention that it's
service.
facilitated ransomware. I mean, the ransomware explosion is primarily because they can get their ransomware in Bitcoin.
Right.
A lot of people made a lot of money. I'm not saying they haven't, but I imagine there's also a lot of people who lost money. You know, it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, for people to make a lot of money, a lot of people have to lose a lot of money.
I mean, I know there's more Bitcoin being created all the time, so it's not exactly
That's
zero-sum.
That's true. That's true.
But it's pretty close to it. How does this Trump coin work? Is there more Trump coin being mined, or is there a set pool of Trump coin?
There's a set pool of it, and like I said, there's that initial allocation to the team, and I think the idea is that the team will sort of distribute more of it over time, but it's really
Why would they
kind
do
of a
that?
free-for-all.
Why should they do that?
To make more money.
Oh, yeah, because if they do that, then maybe more people will buy it.
Yeah, I think there's probably not much of a long-term plan with this. There doesn't tend to be with meme coins. They're sort of
Right.
like a,
Yeah.
you know,
Can you
look
still
at a
buy
meme
Hawk
coin-
Tua? I don't think you can. You
you
can?
can. Yeah.
Why would you?
They're
I
all
guess.
basically tradable forever, but it's just the question of does anyone actually trade them?
Do
but
people understand this when they're? I think certainly the people who are buying Trump coin are not looking at this allocation table and saying, "Oh yeah, okay, well, there's 8 total groups. The total emission duration is 36 months. Circulating supply at TGE 200 million. The maximum card supply is 1 billion. I'm gonna make money on this. I think this is good." What is the emission schedule? What the hell does that mean? Is that when
That's
they
about-
release their 80%?
Yeah, that's about new tokens being released.
Oh, okay. Not mined. Right?
Well,
They're not.
yeah, so Solana and some other blockchains have a different consensus mechanism. So Bitcoin is a mining network where it's all about, you know, a lot of computers doing a lot of calculations at once. Solana, Ethereum, some of these other blockchains use a different process called validating to validate blocks instead of mine blocks. And it's more, you know, eco-friendly and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and the basic idea is you have a decentralized ledger that is everybody can see of who owns what, and it's validated somehow magically, whether through mining or validation or proof of work or proof of stake or whatever it is. But it's interesting. You can just wave your hand and say, "Yeah, I'm going to create 1 billion Trump coins,"
Yep.
and they magically appear.
Yeah. I mean, in
have
fairness,
to-
you've been able to do this for a long time. You know, the Ethereum
Yeah.
network
Oh, yeah.
has been doing this for a long time, and people have been launching new tokens on, you know, all sorts of different blockchains.
Do you have to back it up? Do you have to like buy some Solana to back it up?
Not necessarily, but you know, in practice, most people will set up what's called a liquidity pool so that if someone wants to buy some Trump tokens, there is someone on the other end of the trade. But, you know, as time goes on, other people will sort of join into those activities and become liquidity providers.
Oh, that's what the other 10% is, by the way, is liquidity.
Yeah.
So it's 80% Trump, 80% liquidity, 10% public distribution. I don't understand what any of this means, by the way. And I'm going to bet that 99% of the people who are buying it don't And therein lies the problem.
Yeah, I mean, meme coins are really just based on vibes. There is no business or anything behind it. There is no sort of project underlying it, even in the way that a lot of crypto projects, like, I don't know, a year ago, they at least claimed to be doing something. And most of them didn't, but they claimed to be. And now there's meme coins, which is just like, maybe number go up. And that's sort of the whole philosophy behind them. And people are just trying to get in quickly enough and like pick the right meme coin so that they're the ones buying low and selling high, and not the part of like 99% of people doing the opposite.
But just to make you feel better, there is a disclaimer at the bottom of the page at gettrumpmemes.com, which I'm going to bet is mostly hand waving. But it makes it feel like this is somehow regulated. Trump memes are intended to function as an expression of support for and engagement with the ideals and beliefs embodied by the symbol $Trump and the associated artwork, and not intended to be or to be the subject of an investment opportunity, investment contract, or security of any type. GetTrumpMemes.com is not political, has nothing to do with any political campaign or any political office or government agency, because then the FEC would rule in. CIC Digital LLC, an affiliate of the Trump Organization, and Fight LLC collectively own 80% of the Trump cards and are subject to a 3-year unlocking schedule. CIC Digital LLC and Celebration Cards LLC, the owners of Fight LLC, will receive trading revenue derived from trading activities of Trump meme cards. Those are those fees you were talking about, Molly. See terms and conditions here. Okay, I'm going to click terms and conditions.
Sometimes I see something like this and I want to go find a way to print this out and send just a screenshot of that back in time a decade and one shot kill me. Imagine reading this like a decade ago, no context. I don't think I would survive. I think my brain would explode trying to comprehend it.
But so you see these disclaimers on basically every crypto project website, because they sort of think they've found a get out of jail free card where if you put this at the bottom of the website, then the Securities Exchange Commission can't come after us. And in this case, I guess it's probably true because of the, Trump administration changes to the SEC. But it is just sort of this it's like when financial influencers are like, not financial advice, and then they proceed to give you here's some financial advice.
Non-financial advice. Please be aware, this is in the TNC, please be aware the price of Trump memes may be extremely volatile. Well, we just found that out when Melania released hers. And you may experience substantial losses in connection with the sale or other disposition of Trump memes. We make absolutely no promise or guarantee that the Trump memes will increase in value or maintain the same value as the amount you paid to purchase same. There remains your sole and exclusive responsibility. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I believe there's also a clause about class action litigation against the
I bet there is.
Meme project, which is sort of a legally controversial clause where, you're only allowed to, I forget what the terms are, but it's something like, you have 3 weeks to file a lawsuit, and then you basically automatically waive all class complaints.
So, I mean, I feel bad because obviously the people who buy this, well, there's 2 categories of people who are going to buy this. There are people who love Trump, who are Trump supporters, like my in-laws, who have his flag flying over their house. And they say, we're in, this is great. We're going to give them, and they're on a fixed income. They don't have a lot of money. They're going to give them some money just to show their support, right? There's a second category, which are foreign actors, nationals, people who want influence with the government, who will, when you buy this, it's public, right? It's not hidden. They know you just bought some, right?
It's public in the sense that people can see your blockchain address, but you would have to connect the blockchain wallet address with the actual person or entity behind it. So if you bought it with crypto,
there wouldn't be, but they do allow you to buy it with a debit card. So
there is the added portion of this, which is not a feature of most meme coins, which is that you could buy it with a credit card or a debit card or whatever it is.
And then they would.
And I assume that goes through some sort of, they've got a partnership with, I don't know, Coinbase or something who's facilitating that. But that is probably not as public because of the traditional financial end of things.
By the way, it's your sole and exclusive responsibility to assure the purchase and sale of Trump memes and the use of cryptocurrencies complies with laws and regulations in your jurisdiction. That's your problem, buddy. Not my problem.
It turns out, though, that it is actually very much their problem.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just disclaim that away.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any accident that this was introduced the day before inaugural.
It was also introduced on the day of the Crypto Ball in DC, which was a black tie event put on by the crypto industry. $2,500 tickets. Dinner will not be served. Reporters are strictly forbidden.
And incidentally was headlined by Snoop,
Yeah, apparently he's a Trump guy now.
who was even as recently as the day of the election, very anti-Trump. There is now a cancel Snoop movement, I might add.
Get him.
Because
He has been into crypto for a long time, so that wasn't too much of a surprise. But
so that's really what you're seeing here is the crypto community is extraordinarily happy. And I'm not saying it is, if it were a pyramid scheme, and you had put a lot of money into it, you would very much like more suckers to come along and buy out your share, wouldn't you? I mean, that's how pyramid schemes work.
For sure.
yes.
I mean, more like a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi.
Well, I think some of both, I think. But
Well,
yeah.
that's true. You're right. It is both. I mean, crypto, any of these things, just like meme stocks, just like penny stocks, a lot of it's like finding someone, whoever can, where finding the demand to buy the next one, right? Like that's what it's always about. And so this thing is short-lived. I think it's interesting in that it's likely to be it's likely to create a bunch of blather around crypto for the next few months. But at the same time, when people put some money in and they see something that they put even $500 in and then it's worth 25 cents 2 months later, like they tend to say, well, I'm never doing that again. That's what sort of typically happens in these meme coin, rises and falls. And so
do you think it's a shrinking pool of people who will put money into this stuff?
I mean, there's a lot of people that have gotten a lot of the sort of the average folks that have gotten burned by crypto in that sort of 2021, rise and fall, 22. And so I think that, it's like a new pool of people who maybe are now giving it a try. But what tends to happen with meme coins is what happens every time is like, again, people put in $100 and then they find what was $100, 2 weeks ago, now worth 75 cents. And then people are like, well, I'm never doing that again, sort of phenomenon.
Well, that's the rational response. And in most cases that does happen. But I think as we've seen from the whole original meme stock craze and everything that's currently going on with GameStop, stockholders and former Bed Bath & Beyond stockholders who believe they still have stock, there is a small but mighty percentage of people that this just sends them into a whirlwind of conspiratorial thinking that is just, I mean, and I'm interested to see how that plays out when you combine something as volatile as politics and these sort of communities. Because I've been looking at, I guess, I've just, with idle fascination, been interested in this phenomenon within, like, the GameStop, Bed Bath & Beyond people, because it reminds me of the conspiratorial thinking you see with QAnon. But if you have the Venn diagram of people who believe in QAnon and who also are potentially prone to that, it becomes a strange circle. And I'm morbidly curious to see how that turns out.
I would also say there is sort of a third demographic here, which is people who are prone to gambling addiction, who are, who see a big loss on something like a Trump meme coin, and they aren't like, oh God, that was a bad idea, I should never do that again. Their reaction is, I picked the wrong one.
I should
pick the right one next time. Yeah, and I'll make it
I
back
wasn't
next
fast
time.
enough. Yeah.
Right. And there is so much of that in the crypto world where there is this tendency for people to really like blame themselves in a way that is very unusual, where it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done this and my wallet was hacked and that was all my fault, or oh, I just picked the wrong token, I made the wrong trade. But it's never, they don't sort of see the flaws in the system. They often just attribute it to their own personal failings and then believe that if they just trade better or if they just behave in a different way, that they can suddenly become the Lamborghini driving people that they follow on Twitter.
Should this be regulated?
Well, I think there's reasonable arguments to be made in sort of both directions. There is this enormous market such that is a Wild West. And so, it would be nice if there wasn't this blatant fraud happening. And I would point out that you can handle fraud without bespoke regulations. Like stealing is still illegal, even if you do it with crypto. That's right. But there is sort of this argument, which I am sympathetic to, which is that the more you regulate it, the more you legitimize it, and the more you sort of make it look like a sound investment. But I also wonder if maybe that ship has sailed a little bit. We already have Bitcoin ETFs, for example, and so we've already legitimized it to some extent, and maybe there's a better...
That's something that worries me a little bit, because ETFs make it very easy for you to put Bitcoin in your IRA, in your retirement funds,
401k.
It's easy to invest.
Funds.
Maybe not 401k, but certainly an IRA.
They are getting to that point, though, where 401k managers are considering adding Bitcoin ETF options. So.
I think something that's worth keeping in mind here is I think there's this tendency, and I certainly fell prey to it, when we're talking about meme coins and this whole kind of Wild West of an industry, to view the victims and losers of this as people who had it coming or just made a poor choice.
Yes.
But as these products get more and more popular, and they're extraordinarily popular right now, oftentimes the average, victim of these financial scams are everyday well-meaning Americans who suffer huge financial losses that are devastating to them and people who support them. And I think when we're thinking about regulation, part of the reason to do something like that is to protect the average consumer from harms that they may not realize they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. I mean, Americans love a get rich quick scheme, right? It's since 1850, it's been a long string of them.
Yeah.
It's a little different when it's in the White House.
Yeah. Your point is really well made, because I hear that a lot as someone who covers crypto scams. I get a lot of people saying oh, they had it coming, they shouldn't have been so dumb. Anyone who puts money into a meme coin deserves everything they get, and so on. Yeah. But watching the crypto world for the past couple of years and seeing the victims of these scams, people really do not understand the types of people that we're talking about. And the types of things that people believe about that are just they believe to be inherently true about anything that is available for them to buy. This is particularly the case with Americans, where people believe that because they can buy it, it is regulated, and that there is someone making sure that it's not a scam. And so when companies like Celsius and Voyager collapsed, for example, in 2022, those were two large crypto companies based in the United States. There were all of these people who believed that they had FDIC protection on their Celsius accounts because Celsius kept saying that it was safer than a bank. And so people just assumed that they had protection from those types of losses. People believed that if it was a scam, they wouldn't be allowed to be registered in the United States. And so people do not expect CEOs to just lie to their faces, even though they do it very frequently. And so, I think there is this misunderstanding that everyone who's involved in crypto and loses money is some 20-year-old guy who has money to burn, who is very technologically savvy, who understands what he's getting into and understands the risk that's involved. And therefore, you shouldn't feel bad for him when he loses everything. But if you actually look at it, there are retirees who are told that this is the only way that they're going to be able to retire comfortably. There are people who are trying to, pay medical debts. There are very compelling stories of people who are in a bad situation and trying to get out of it, who believe that this is kind of the only way that they can get out of it, and often really don't understand what they're getting involved in.
Are there any regulations at all? Is this regulated in any way?
Well, like I said, stealing from people is illegal. So you know, but there are.
I haven't seen a single. Well, I guess Samuel Bankman-Fried was prosecuted
and Celsius. You know, there is, but that's usually, unfortunately, that usually happens after the fraud happens.
It's too late.
It's
But is like running a pump and dump for a meme coin, is that regulated?
There is some debate over who is in charge of that regulation, but pumping and dumping is also illegal, although people, I think, sometimes forget that in the crypto world. And so the SEC has brought cases about pump and dumps, but because they're so frequent and prevalent, they really only bring them against like high profile cases where they feel like they can send a message. So for example, they went after Kim Kardashian. They've gone after, you know, a couple of other celebrities for getting involved in these pump and dumps or for undisclosed promotion of these tokens.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember they went after the celebrities that fortune favors the brave, you know. All of those ads we saw on the Super Bowl, but nothing ever happened. Matt Damon's not in jail.
Well, I think those were class action and not coming from the SEC.
They weren't regulation. Okay.
Yeah, but so they do those types of lawsuits, but I think they've unfortunately just sent the message that like, if you're not a celebrity, no one's going to come after you, and so there's all of this meme coin activity anyway.
Also, when the president-elect does it. It is a very strong signal.
Right.
Come on in, guys. The water's great. I'm looking. There are 66 political coins on coin ranking right now at coinranking.com. Number one, of course, the official Trump coin that came out yesterday. But there is a MAGA coin. Actually, there's quite a few. There's a Putin coin. There's a Doland Trump coin, a Geo Biden coin. There's a Pepe coin. There's the Trump token. There's Trump AI, Trump MAGA, MAGA Fight for Trump, Baby Trump, Tucker Carlson, MAGA Trump, huge, MAGA VP, Baby Trump, son of Trump. You can not only can you buy these, they have a market cap. JD Vance, there's a Vance coin. Doesn't mean Vance did it, right? Just somebody else just named it that. There's a Kamala Harris coin. Make America Great. There are quite a few MAGA coins. Are these scammers trying to take advantage of? I mean, there's a real Donald Trump coin, but I don't think it's really Donald Trump. Nobody says you can't do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, these tokens have been around for a long time. You know, even before Trump was launching meme coins, people just will launch a meme coin about anything and everything they can think of. And there have been a bunch of them that are politically, involved with some political thing. But people, anything that happens, like if there's some big news, there'll be a meme coin about it immediately. It's just sort of a free for all.
That's what I mean by it's not any practical way regulated.
Correct. I would agree with that. And especially with the way things are looking like they'll be going, I would not expect that to change much.
When they say the market cap of Trump coin is 9.25 billion, that's the current market cap. Does that mean there's actually not that many people bought it, or does that just some made up number? Yeah,
so I actually wrote a piece about this on my blog a long time ago about cryptocurrency market caps, which people like to say big numbers. And so they'll say things like there's a $15 billion market cap or something like that. And the way that those market caps are calculated is very naive. So it basically means what they're doing is they're taking the current price of the token and they're multiplying it by the number of tokens in circulation.
Oh.
In some cases, I actually saw the New York Times do this recently, which was really kind of horrifying, but they actually were multiplying the current price by what's called the fully diluted valuation, which is like if every token in existence were to be created, multiply that by the current price, and you get these huge numbers, like almost trillions of dollars in this case, but it's nowhere connected to reality. Like you could not in any reasonable world actually cash out something close to that. I like to give the example of basically like if I were to create a Molly coin and I were to sell one Molly coin to somebody else for $1, and then I had 1 million Molly coins that existed, they would be saying that the Molly coin market cap was $1 million, even though $1 went into that ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's
even though you
really
would have to find 1 million people to actually buy it for $1, right? In order for it to have
So
that
market, and it's too bad they use market cap because that's a well-known phrase in the stock market and equities, and it means something in an equity. Now they also use trading volume, and I think this is real. The value of all trades of Trump coin in the last 24 hours is $18.9 billion.
So I would put an asterisk around that too, because
really? That's
wash
not real?
Trading in crypto markets is unbelievably endemic. Like, it is just a normal activity practically. Like, you can hire people. What are they doing?
They're selling it to themselves and then back again? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. They're faking volume for that exact reason, because it makes it look like the token is more liquid than it is. Like, there's a deeper market for it than there is.
So it's fake.
Yeah.
Or could be fake. We don't know.
It often is fake, I would say. We
don't know. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a little sketch to be doing this, to be honest.
A little.
But it does send a signal that this is going to be a great 4 years for crypto.
Well, I would actually point out, you mentioned this earlier, you made a comment about how, crypto is very excited about this, but I've actually seen a surprising amount of sort of shock and horror from the crypto world about the Trump meme coin. I think the crypto world has really come to expect something very different than what they're going to get with the Trump administration. And they are kind of horrified to see what looks like a total grifty cash grab. It's obviously not great for the reputation of crypto when Trump is out there doing these types of things. People,
a real leopards eating faces moment.
It is very much that, yes. But I think that I'm actually really interested in watching over the next couple of years how the crypto world, the normal everyday people who are buying and selling crypto react to the sort of political reality that they sort of signed up for, in a way where they were like, okay, I guess we'll back, we'll get behind this political project and we'll support these crypto executives who are, getting in bed with Trump, with the idea that those crypto executives, the billionaire executives and venture capitalists, will do what is good for the little guy in crypto, even though history has shown repeatedly that billionaires don't usually care about the little guy very much. And I think there is going to be kind of a reckoning where maybe the people who are Coinbase executives don't actually have the interests of, everyday people in mind, and they actually are more interested in protecting their bottom line or padding their wallets a little bit. And I think that this is kind of an early preview of that to some extent.
Yeah, there are still true believers in crypto and blockchain who truly believe that this is a vehicle that will democratize finance. Remember, cryptocurrency came out of the financial collapse of the banks in 2010, 2011. And the whole idea was to create this principles-based, decentralized monetary system that is separate from sort of an oligarch-controlled monetary system where the people in power are not accountable for mistakes that they make. And then the little person pays for their mistakes instead of them having to be accountable for them. And so there are people in the crypto ecosystem that still firmly believe in those ideals and in that idea, and that there is a way that cryptocurrency can democratize finance in ways that especially apply to places outside of the U.S. and places where, where there are a lot of unbanked people who are still at the mercy of sometimes very corrupt money lenders and banks. So I think for that crowd, seeing crypto get a bunch of publicity around meme coins is probably one of the worst possible scenarios, right? Because it's gonna take crypto and turn it into essentially just people thinking it's just a Ponzi scheme. It's always going to be a sort of a cheap meme scop, Ponzi scheme sort of place, when there are people who really believe in this and have put their, they could be working on AI, they could be working on other things, but they're invested in the crypto ecosystem because they are essentially true believers in the original ideals of, 2010 and the post and post Lehman Brothers and other bank collapses, and so I think that's one of the risks here for that crowd. This could be a rough year for them, and maybe even a rough sort of couple years.
Yeah, and that crowd, I think, was looking at things like Bitcoin ETFs. I mean, the idea of BlackRock offering a Bitcoin ETF is like completely antithetical to so much of the Bitcoin ethos, which is like no big finance people getting involved in this. And then, so I think there have been a lot of people who have seen the direction of crypto in the last, 5 or 10 years and are sort of like, oh God, this is not what we wanted at all. But I also think that a lot of those people have either left or perhaps maybe abandoned those ideals.
Yeah. And maybe it was a little naive.
Some of them are AI startups for sure.
Maybe, right. AI is the new crypto. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. Great panel. It's great to have you. I'm so glad you could be here, Molly White. This is your time. It's your time. Molly White is at mollywhite.net. Paris Martineau at theinformation.com and editor-in-chief of ZDNet. So great to have you, Jason Hiner.
Just along for the ride.
Yeah. Well, what a ride, though, huh?
What a ride.
What a ride. The show this week brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Love these guys. When back in the days when we were hiring, there was no better way to do it than ZipRecruiter. It's still the case. It's a brand new year, right? 2025. And many business owners, I know you're sitting there thinking, there are a few roles I need to hire for. If you do need to hire for your business, there is no better way, I am serious, to find qualified candidates than ZipRecruiter. You can try it right now for free. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. I'll give you a little synopsis of our experience. It happens in any business. People move on, get a better job or a job closer to home, and they give you the 2-week notice. And it's always it's nice. People are very nice, but they're leaving. Now the clock is ticking. We got an empty position. And in 2 weeks, if we don't find somebody, we're going to be doing that job. Last thing you want to do, right? Plus hiring, your inbox, your voicemail, just going to fill up with people looking for, if you're lucky, looking for work, or worse, you post the job in crickets. Neither one is good. None of that will happen with ZipRecruiter. It's the hiring site employers literally prefer the most based on G2. So we post on ZipRecruiter. Lisa usually does it at breakfast. I'm thinking the last time this happened, when we needed a new person in our continuity department. Ashley moved on to a job closer to her house. She posted at breakfast. Before lunch, she's going, wow, this is a great candidate. This is a great candidate. Now, that's tough in a situation right now where it's really, there's a lot of competition for the best employees. But ZipRecruiter's smart technology will start showing your job to qualified candidates right away. They post to more than 100 job listing sites with one click of the mouse, plus social. They really get the word out. But they also do something else. They have more than 1 million resumes on file, current resumes, because people come to ZipRecruiter looking for work, right? So they will take their matching technology. They'll go in there. They'll look at your requirements. They'll look at the resumes they've got, and then they will send you a list of the candidates that are best qualified for your job. This can be a very long list. You look at it and then invite the ones you really like to apply for your job. When that happens, by the way, when you invite somebody to apply, they're flattered, right? They go, wow, they want me. And you're much more likely to get that employee. It kind of moves you to the top of the line right there. It really works. It's amazing. So Lisa posts a job, and within an hour, she said, we got a great, and by the way, she's worried. What am I going to do if we can't hire? We got a great candidate. We got another great candidate. In fact, we got, I think, 3 or 4 great candidates before lunch. Here's to a new year of hiring made easier with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. I'm not going to promise you before lunch, but that's been our experience. See for yourself. Go to this exclusive website just for us. This way they know you saw it here. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. You can try it free. ZipRecruiter.com/TWIT. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. Thank you, ZipRecruiter. And we hired Viva, and we were very happy. Very happy. That had a happy ending. So, boy, I can just go on and on about great stuff. Molly, you're not in the LA area, are you? No. Jason,
No.
LA area? No. And I know you're not. You're in Brooklyn, Paris. So our again, it's still burning in LA, and our thoughts and love go out to all of our friends in LA. Many, many of our listeners and many of our contributors. Kevin Rose lost his house. It's just it's been devastating out there. So stay safe, I guess. That's all I have to say about that. Let's see. What should we talk about? I didn't put these in order, so I'm just going to go through them kind of randomly. Texas is suing Allstate. Actually, this is one of a number of suits over driver data. State of Texas accuses Arity, an Allstate subsidiary, of collecting data about people's driving behavior through mobile apps, leading to increases in drivers' insurance rates. Well, isn't that how it's kind of supposed to work?
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to know about it, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Without their knowledge or consent.
Stemming from the Kashmir Hill article. I can't recall if it could have been 3 years ago, it could have been 6 months ago, where she found essentially that a number of insurers were using data from like their customers' cars in order
not just
to
their cars,
adjust their cars, their phones, a million
and
other
their
different
apps.
things.
Like
apps.
if you have Life 360 to keep track of your family members, you're right. She wrote this in June, and that's where this came from.
And the important thing is, unlike there are programs that these insurers have,
Right.
where you sign on to do this legitimately. That's not what she's talking about here, or what her investigation found. It was this whole collection of different sources that users and drivers had no idea were sending information about stuff like what time you're driving at night, or are you braking slightly quickly when you come to a stop sign, and that was being used to increase someone's insurance score or insurance payment significantly, just because they've gone out a couple, like their Life 360 app or something else would tell their insurer covertly, hey, this person's often driving after 11 p.m. And then the insurer's like, maybe that's risky. They're going to have to pay more for their insurance. And
it's really dirty. It's really
it is quite
and
dirty.
it's different from the like you said, there are programs where the insurance company is like, hey, we'll give you $15 off your policy if you download this app that sends us your data, which like is still kind of gross surveillance, but is at least, informed.
You opt in. Yeah. You opt in to do it.
And one of the cases I recall from this article that I thought was the most skeevy was she had an example of a customer who, I guess when they were buying whatever car they were buying, they had said, no, I don't want to sign up for the program where all of my car's data is automatically sent to the insurance companies. And the car dealership employees signed them up anyway, and that was their internal policy, is no matter what the customers say, everyone's getting signed up for this data auto sharing program.
I'm sure
and
they were getting a draw on it. They were getting every person they signed up, they got $100 or something,
yeah, like a commission fee.
Yeah.
What's hysterical is some of the apps that you sign up for. I mentioned Life 360. There's also My Radar, a weather forecast app, and Gas Buddy, which helps you save on fuel costs, have opt-in driving analysis features, ostensibly for that app. Like, how's your teenager driving? We'll let you know. But what's also happening is that data is being sent on to the insurance companies without your knowledge. Now, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. But the job of an insurance company is to give you a premium that will correctly reflect the risk that you're going to make a claim, right? And insurance companies, maybe they get rapacious and they charge you too much. But the idea is we're going to charge you a fee commensurate with the risk. That's why teenage drivers pay more for their car insurance. And to the degree that they don't do that, we all pay. So if I'm a really safe driver, and this is why I sign up for those plans, the insurer knows that's going to bring my cost down. Shouldn't I also think it's a good thing for the insurance companies to know who's a terrible driver? Because I don't want to subsidize their insurance. They should pay an insurance premium commensurate with their risk.
Yes, but doing it in underhanded ways where they're going and, essentially doing some very
You might have to. Who's gonna
scraping.
let the insurance company know they're a crappy driver?
They're a terrible driver.
I feel like
Right?
Well, we also have laws around data privacy and security
Yeah.
that
Such
say
as they
you've
are.
got to get people's
What?
consent. And
We
I
do?
know, it's really shocking.
You have the right to not let the insurance company
Yeah.
know you are a really terrible driver. Every person.
Or
has
at least that should be listed somewhere in the terms of service. Hey, we're squealing on all your data to the insurance company, but it's not.
Right.
Or it might be in your signing up for those. I think one of my takeaway is like really be more careful than ever about the apps that you download and the things that you and delete stuff off your phone that you're not using because we've seen a number of apps also abuse the data that they're collecting, and like we just consumers have to be more careful. And
Arity's response to this is that, well, you did agree. You know that phrase, we may collect third-party data and reports, that's in the fine print in your user agreement?
yeah, they'll say that it covers.
That's what that means.
We're going to sell your data.
Yeah. And I bet you,
does
if
it
you
say
look
they're
at
going
your
to collect
EULAs,
it
it
or they're
says
going to sell it?
yeah, it often says we will share it with third parties to improve your
Partners.
experience and our
Yeah.
partners.
So here's one example from a New York Times article. Gas Buddy, for instance, is I guess an app you can download to help like save on fuel costs. I assume it tells you where certain fuel costs are, or where the various cheaper gas you can find. And the New York Times says, for instance, when you're signing up for this, you can turn on a feature that rates the fuel efficiency of their drives, a feature, quote, powered by Arrietty. And when you do that, says the company, you agree to the privacy statement before they opt into this function. However, in this agreement is small gray font under a big red button labeled Join Drives. There's a tiny disclosure that says, by clicking Join Drives, you will share, quote, certain information with Arrietty and agree to Arrietty's privacy statement. And this is not the Arrietty app. This is the Gas Buddy thing. And the language doesn't explain what Arrietty is or what it does.
They disclosed it. Well,
There
notice
are
they
also
call it
laws
Arrietty,
about-
not Allstate. I understand, because you would know who Allstate is.
Yeah.
But still,
There are
they
also
do.
requirements about how prominent you are allowed to make various disclosures, and like tiny light.
Well, we're going to fix all that
contrast
starting tomorrow.
fonts
Don't
is
you?
not-
Don't you worry about that. We're getting rid of that Consumer Financial Protection
Probably.
Board. That's ridiculous. This is what also from Cash's article. The bigger appeal of telematics is it could more accurately predict risk for individual drivers and be a fairer way to set rates. Most insurers will charge a 24-year-old man who lives in a busy city more than a 50-year-old woman who lives in the suburbs. And as that 50-year-old woman, I think that's a good thing. Everybody
I'm always saying that
eventually
about you.
will have a driving score, it says one consultant, and you might prefer it. Don't judge me. This is Alan Demers, founder of InsurTech Consulting. Guess what they do? Don't judge me based on everyone else. Judge me based on me. That seems fair. But all right, so then they should disclose it. And you should be very clear that they are collecting that data, and it should impact your insurance. Although if you're a terrible driver, you're not going to like that.
I think it's also an example that sticks with me is from, I think, Kashmir Hill's original article about this in March 2024. This was the example with how automakers are sharing this data. She gives the example of this guy, Ken Dahl, a 65-year-old man who was surprised in 2022 when the cost of his car insurance jumped by 21%. Nothing had really changed about his life. He ends up requesting data, gets back a 260-page consumer disclosure report from data broker LexisNexis that included over 130 pages detailing each time he or his wife had driven their Chevy Bolt over the previous 6 months. It included the dates of 640 trips, start and end times, distance driven. He had never gotten in an accident once over this entire time, but because he had things like
He was
on an
braking hard, ladies and gentlemen.
He had 2 hard brakes on an early morning in June, and that's why his payment went up 20%. And I think that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I put a link in the in the show notes here that about the skyrocketing car insurance premiums, and you can see this chart. It is unbelievable. So they're doing all of this data, and the thing is I don't even know how much they're using it other than to just try to increase everybody's car insurance premiums.
Well,
to just insane levels.
That's another issue, isn't it?
5 years.
That are they doing what they should do, which is reducing the cost for safe drivers while increasing it for unsafe drivers? No, they're just using it as an excuse to raise everybody's rates.
Exactly.
But I also feel like the sort of like, if you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't have a problem with this type of thing doesn't really work, because like if you were to think try to think of like an analogous situation where, like health insurance, for example, like you could make the argument that health insurers should put a camera in everybody's house to see like how much they're sitting on the couch versus going for a run.
Well, that might be a little intrusive. Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Although they have done that, that's called a smart TV.
Right. But like I would argue that someone just like taking the data about where I drive and when I drive is just as intrusive as someone putting a camera in my house.
But I will give you the other side of that. So California, a couple of decades ago, had an initiative which passed limiting home insurance premiums. They actually cut them by about 20%. As a result, insurers were not able to send a signal to homeowners that were building in fire zones by raising their insurance. They couldn't. They were statutorily limited to how much they could charge them for insurance. You could make the argument that as a result, in those 20 years, many people have built in areas where there were real risks of wildfire, but they weren't given the signal from the insurance company. In other words, their insurance wasn't raised. And as a result, this has happened up here in Sonoma County a couple of years ago, just happened in LA. Many of these people have lost their homes, and now insurers are leaving the state because the state won't let them charge the proper amount for the risk.
I'll put on my devil horns a little bit and do some advocacy. Couldn't have those insurers at some point just said, we're not going to insure people who build in these areas we think are risky?
Well, they are now.
Also,
they are now.
The insurance companies warning people about fire zones. Like, I feel like that is something that could happen outside of the insurance industry.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think that the amount you pay for your insurance is a direct
the group that we should be feeling bad for.
Well, but the amount you pay for your insurance is a direct reflection of, or should be, I think, a direct reflection of the risk. And when it's statutorily prohibited from that, I think that's when you get the problems that we're having right now.
I don't know if the wildfires are not because of insurance premiums.
No, absolutely not.
I think we can look at what's going on with homeowners insurance in Florida to see an example of what would happen in a totally unregulated area or version of this industry where they don't have caps there. And as a result, many people in these areas just have been unable to get home insurance.
Right. I'm getting this argument, I should give him credit, from Nolan Gray, who is Senior Director of Legislation and Research at California's YIMBY Institute and the author of a book called Arbitrary Lines, How Zoning Broke the American City and How to Fix It. He wrote a piece in The Atlantic, How Well-Intentioned Policies Fueled LA's Fires, in which he refers to specifically this California 1988 California voters passed Prop 103, reducing rates by 20%, subjecting future rate increases to public oversight. And of course, I understand why they did that, but as a result, he says the politicization of risk has been a catastrophe. Artificially low premiums encouraged more Californians to live in the state's most dangerous areas, and they reduced the incentive for homeowners to protect their houses, such as by installing fire-resistant roof and siding materials.
Were insurance companies required to provide insurance?
Well, what's happened? That's a good question. No, they could have. I guess they could have left. I don't know. I think maybe they were required to. Maybe they could have left. I don't know. What has happened is California has created its own public insurer of last resort. And unfortunately,
The state is the public insurer of last resort.
the FAIR plan, FAIR,
Oh, interesting.
they unfortunately covered in 2023 $284 billion in home value, much of that in Los Angeles.
Oh,
Within the next few years, Nolan writes, California taxpayers could be on the hook for more than $1 trillion. The state insurance commissioner is scrambling to bring insurers back, but it may be too late. So insurers have left, for sure. We don't actually live in a fire zone anymore, but our homeowners insurance has announced they're canceling us in June, probably because we're in California.
Probably because of the camera they put in your house.
Or the camera they put in our house. That's true.
that smart TV.
Could
they
be-
got your data.
They found out I'm a fire eater, and they said, no, it's a bridge
They've
too
been,
far.
You've been chewing on all the wires in there.
They've been slurping the data from those 200 connected devices in your home.
Well,
and they're like, no.
They probably are. Okay, so admittedly, we don't really
They're
trust
like, this guy's a
insurance companies.
podcaster. We can't.
Yeah, they found out I'm podcasting from the house. Oh, boy.
See all those wires.
But in the perfect world, with perfect information and insurers that were honorable, wouldn't that be the best way to do it?
I think the last point, honorable, is a hard word to apply to mega corporations in capitalism.
Yeah.
I would also argue that in a perfect world, insurance companies would not have my information.
Yeah.
So I would pay the same as you would.
I mean, I drive like a grandma. I mean, I am a very careful driver.
I am a grandma. So
No.
there you go.
I'm saying
right?
I'm in the same demographic as you are. I rarely drive at night. I rarely drive at all, actually. And I still don't sign up for the policy where they take however much off of my insurance, because for me, the privacy aspect of it is enough to, so like, I think there are plenty of safe drivers who don't want to be spied on. And I think the same thing goes for other forms of insurance and data collection as well.
So you don't mind that you're maybe paying the same as some hot rodding 20-year-old, no, you don't care.
I mean, they obviously go off my driving record and all the sort of, the historic ways that they go off, that insurance.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's okay. I mean, if I get into an accident, I think it's okay that people know about that.
Right.
But, I don't think they need very detailed
How often you
data
break.
about,
yeah,
but where I go and when I go there and how I break and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because like
if I pay
this video, by the
$50 a
way.
month more, then that's fine with me.
Our producer Benito weighing in. Yes, Benito.
I feel like they're just trying to moneyball it, right? Like that's what they're doing. They're trying to moneyball.
But that's what insurance is, Benito. That's why there's people called actuaries who figure out what your likelihood of having an accident or dying or having your house burned down is. And then in theory, the premiums reflect that so that they can make a little bit of money on top of the risk.
Yes,
and it works in aggregate.
But the data they're collecting is arbitrary, and it's also like they're the ones deciding what makes a quote unquote safe driver or not. So like, what if I work a night shift, but what if my regular circadian rhythm is fine, but I work a night shift, and like, so my insurance is going to be more expensive now just because of that?
Yeah, because you're more likely to have an accident.
Why?
Because you are.
What if I had no history of accidents
Based
at all?
on stats. Well, look, I mean, I pay if I had life insurance, which I don't anymore because I'm too old. But that makes sense, right? I shouldn't have life insurance if I'm close to death. Now, you might say, well, that's no fair. You're the one who needs it. You're about to die. No, that's just how it works. Life insurance is cheaper when you're younger and healthier because you're less likely to need it. That's the insurance market. That's how it works.
But there are also limits to how much information we give to health insurers, right? Where health insurers are not sitting on our shoulders every day, checking if we're getting the large fries at McDonald's.
They will be soon, though, don't you think?
Well, and actually they are trying to be, especially when you look at Fitbits and those types of devices. But I would love for that not to continue in that direction. And I worry about the extent to which people are sort of, the boiled frog thing where we're now just becoming okay with that data being shipped everywhere.
I mean, yeah, I think this is why it's important, if you care about privacy, to resist all attempts to encroach upon your, data privacy. Like whenever I go to the airport, now they want to do the face scan thing. Every time I'm like, I want to opt out, do the other thing. And the TSA agent inevitably is like, well, we've already got scans of your face. And I'm like, I know, it's just the principle of it.
No more, please.
Yeah, I would just like to reduce the amount. And it's, 30 seconds.
And I think also, like, the more we allow this data to be collected and the more normalized it is, like, the more we have to grapple with the fact that data breaches happen all the time. And this kind of data, the more and more granular
it's not going to
is,
be kept private.
It's not going to just be your health insurance that knows exactly what you're doing and where you're going and how quickly you're braking.
What if it were done by an AI?
Well, in that case. And if we put it on the blockchain, then I would be fine with it.
But what if it were done
by an AI put on the blockchain?
What if it were done in such a way that was guaranteed to be fair? No human was ever going to see that.
Wait, we're talking about AI?
Well, all right. Maybe
you really tried there for a good few
I
seconds.
believe in AI. You'll have to excuse me, Molly, but I am an AI.
He's having his AI
optimist.
resurgent. He was, he was down in the
roller
slums of
coaster.
reality with us for the last couple of months. but
Don't
now he's
make
been
me wear
picked
my
up.
AI glasses.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
Leo, do you
Oh
want
my
to tell the
gosh.
audience when you ordered those glasses and when they were supposed to arrive? And when
I
you
ordered these
received them?
glasses before Kashmir Hill wrote that article, more than a year ago.
More than a year ago. They were supposed to arrive last April. He got them this week.
Those are the
And
open
they
source
don't
ones.
work.
They don't
Right?
do
Yeah.
much.
Why do
They
they
don't
look like
do
that?
anything. And he's like, but
like
I got
joke-
them. AI is the
they look
future.
AI is the future.
They look like joke nerd glasses. Like if you wanted to be a nerd in like a Broadway play.
You know what? They're not actually joke nerd glasses. They're just nerd glasses.
Do they have your prescription in them at least?
No, they couldn't do that. That's what took so long.
Then why
So
did
they
their
gave me
eyes bigger?
They gave me a discount for some clip-ons with my prescription, so I can clip that on. But I'm
So
wearing
just in
contacts
case
now,
you
so I
didn't
can see.
look nerdy enough.
Do you also have sunglass clip-ons that can add like a third level?
You flip them up and
Yeah.
you flip them down. Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Those are the Brilliant Labs ones, right?
How did you know? You see, he knows. Jason
the
knows.
editor.
He's
Editor-in-chief
been
of
waiting.
ZDNet.
This is one of like 5 AI hype products Leo ordered last year that hasn't arrived yet. He's
I've
gotten,
ordered
I think,
more,
like
by
2.
the way, since I've talked to you last. The
Something's
best thing
wrong
is
with you.
the way you charge it is it has this orange thing that you stick on the nose.
Yeah. That makes it
It has a clown.
Yes, it does. It does. This is real.
That's amazing. Why did they have to make it orange?
It's a Humpty Hump nose.
So you won't lose it.
Yeah. No,
AI is the
impressed that you
future.
got them. These are the open sourced ones, though. Interesting.
Well, that's why I'm intrigued by it. It doesn't
Yeah.
do anything much,
Yeah.
but it potentially could because it's
Supposed to
open.
do?
It doesn't do anything, but
like-
it potentially could.
I've been hearing about that about blockchains for a long time.
Yeah. You have like this thing you like with a command line, like you can command line.
Yeah,
Leo,
so
Leo.
really what you're buying is
NFTs
this
aren't
hardware.
doing anything right now, but eventually they're going to do something
It's
really
a
big.
hardware platform that
could.
needs software. Right now, it's just got this little prism that's pointing down at a screen underneath here. So it's heads-up display. It's basically Google Glass built into the lens is all it really is. And then, right now, in theory, if I tap it, the AI comes alive and I can ask it a question and then tap it again. And I could read the answer, but it doesn't. I don't know. It's not really doing anything.
But it doesn't do that. It doesn't work.
Doesn't do
In
what
theory.
it's supposed to do.
I also bought, and I showed this to Paris, the wristband that records everything. But Paris, I found a better one. A friend of mine has one. I didn't buy it for the longest time because it was advertised incessantly on TikTok. And I thought, well, this is not going to be good. That Plaud, P-L-A-U-D.
But
you've
then
seen
did you get an ad for it on Instagram?
Claude?
You're like, that's my
No, a
place.
friend of mine has it. And he showed me, makes a mind map of your conversations and all this stuff.
This
Claude,
thing that Leo is talking about, the wrist thing that is not Plod, he showed it to us on This Week
The
in Google.
B.computer.
It is a little weird wrist bracelet that just records all of your conversations
Everything. I
always.
was going
and
to
then, then gives you little like butt-kicking summaries of your day in conversation. Be like, Leo was really cerebral while watching the football game.
You want me to
he
read
made
you?
fantastic points as he was discussing plays with his big, beautiful mind.
You want me to read you? I'll read you yesterday's. You can see it.
Let's
you can see
hear
it right here.
Let's hear it.
Worry for a friend turned to hope, finding comfort in small joys and shared moments.
You were
Leo
there.
had a
Why does
day-
it have to tell you?
Leo had a day marked by concern for his friend H, who was unreachable despite plans to meet. Seeking solace, Leo checked the weather in Petaluma, finding it to be a partly cloudy 54 degrees, dropping to 42 overnight. Later, wow, I didn't realize. Later, Leo offered comforting words to somebody faces a potential diagnosis, reassuring her that things would be okay. As the day progressed, Leo confirmed the absence of rain.
It's very worried about the weather.
This is important. Yeah.
These are the things
Reminisced
that are
about a
important to you.
past event in 922 and ended the night impatiently waiting to leave while someone sifted sand. Okay, the sifted sand comes from the fact that I was practicing a song all day, all night, Marianne, sitting by the seashore, sifting sand. So apparently it confused me singing that song with me just sitting here waiting for her to finish sifting the sand. Here's the atmosphere. Yesterday's atmosphere. Leo's day had an undercurrent of worry, balanced by moments of reassurance and lightheartedness. Concern for somebody's well-being and somebody's son created a somber tone, while casual conversations about the weather and humorous anecdotes brought
love
moments
the
of
weather.
levity. I love the weather. I
Is this
just
a
love
product for someone with like amnesia? Like who is supposed
Well-
to be? Who is the summary for?
But my conspiracy theory is this is a product for a certain class of tech bro CEO that is doing so many drugs that he can't remember what has happened, and he wants to look
So,
back and be like, "Wow, I had some moments of somber reflection about the rain."
Wow.
I just don't
This
understand. Like, weren't you?
'Cause it's written like a
present for
LinkedIn
all of these
post.
conversations.
Yes, but I remember them now, but I might not tomorrow or the next week or next year. This is it's basically keeping a journal for me. Now, more importantly, it also keeps track of agreements that I have made. Here we go. Here's number one on my to-do list. Ensure the feather pillow with 3 layers ordered by Lisa arrives and is satisfactory. That's on my to-do list.
Look, this is the reason that we're putting all the world's best engineers to work on AI, and we're using up all the cycles and
Why
data.
we're burning the climate.
This is
I
the
feel like
reason why we
there's-
were like, F you to all of our climate pledges. We're just gonna, set the earth aflame, because Leo's
some
got
of
to
this is-
remember.
Some of this is good. Explore using Instagram as an alternative to TikTok, especially considering
Do you
discussions.
need a reminder for that?
I feel like there's a huge upsell opportunity where they could provide access for other people to add things to the list of things you
Well,
agreed
maybe.
to.
And by the way, a visit to Walmart would not be out of line.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, I don't know what this is. It says stare at the new fake toys for cats and see if they capture their
Did a
interest.
cat write this?
It's
Wow.
I do
very
think
possible.
your cat has gotten
Your
in
cat
there.
has hacked the
Cat
system.
has hacked the system.
This is like an inside joke of the AIs, because most of the experts say that AI is about as intelligent. Today's AIs are about as intelligent as the average house cat, and so that's the house cats getting their revenge on
I
AI.
think they're a little bit better than that.
I've met
That's-
some very
that's
smart
true.
cats.
Exactly.
I've also
That's
met
exactly
very
what
bad
I'm saying.
cats, though, so I suspect
Touche.
the average is
I was
actually
going to say
pretty
the same
low.
thing. I was going to say I've got some cats that are way smarter than some of the AIs that I've interacted with in the past few months.
I do think there are like 10 cats just dragging that average down.
Yeah, no, like the whole orange cat
Yes,
population
male
that shares
orange
one
cats.
brain, shares one singular brain cell among all of them. That's dragging the average down. It's a Spider's George situation,
Right. The calicos have the high end for sure.
Yeah.
So that was I found that that was at CES, the bee thing. There's another one I ordered as well. This is a article from Wired by Julian Chokatu. Your next AI wearable will listen to everything all the time. So there's the B, which I got, but I also ordered this. This is the Omi, and it you glue it to your temple. It's It's a little pearlescent thing you glue to your temple. And,
Every day?
Every day, forever, always.
I feel like you'll get a rash.
By the way, was it you, Paris, who pointed out that the women in this picture who are looking at the guy with the pearl in his temple
are laughing?
I did not. No, it looks almost either like they're making fun of him or they're like, wow, who's that?
He's so
stud with
cute.
something on his temple.
Because they can't see his temple. That's why as soon as he turns his head, they're going to rear
If
back
I
in
saw
shock.
someone with that out in the world, I would steer clear. I would be like, something's gone wrong.
It's
I
a
think I would
famous
think it was
Vermeer
like
painting.
a new medical device of some kind. Like
Yeah.
it looks almost like a very fancy like cochlear implant.
Well,
You know, like those
okay,
little
you're not
things that
far
go
off
behind.
because the creator, Nikita Shevchenko, says that the Omi is trained to recognize specific brain waves when you focus on speaking to it. So instead of having to say a hot word, you just think Omi, and it will respond.
Wow.
Wait, so you don't speak?
No, you don't
just
need
think
to.
it.
You just think it.
Wow.
I think you have to speak to it, but I think to wake it, you just have to think, oh me.
Yes.
And I do not believe that works.
Well, we're
Yeah.
going to find out when it comes.
In
But I
3
did
to
order
5
the Plod,
years, yeah.
which has been around for a while. It ties into either ChatGPT 4.0 or to Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, both of which are, I have to say, I know you laugh and you mock, but these are actually very good. In
They
fact,
are
there's
better than ChatGPT, I
No,
would say.
they're good. I just can't get over the fact that it's called Plod.
Yeah,
it
that's
just
terrible.
Not a good
feels
name.
awful coming
that's
out of your
fair.
mouth.
it's coming
fair.
from China. So
By
that
the
might
way,
be some of the
Plod
reason.
from Pyongyang.
The AI is as smart as the average house cat was not just an average, person saying this. This was Jan LeCun, the head of Meta's AI research, right?
Oh, that
He
was
said
supposed to be
that?
a good thing?
He said that?
He said it is dumber than the average. I actually overestimated it. He said it's not as smart as the average house cat. So, yeah.
So he's Team Cat.
He's Team Cat on this one, and he's the head of AI for Meta. Including
He knows. He's
Meta's-
quite respected. In fact, I have a lot of respect for him.
Same. I think and he's also not an overhyper. So I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he included the orange tabbies in that, but I'm assuming that it's implied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like your strategy with all of these devices is just to DDoS the data collection agencies with so much information.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a one way
can't
of
even-
fuzzing it. Yeah.
They can't
we
even
can't
create
tell
a
if he's a good
profile
driver or
on you.
bad.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They
there's
can't
just
create a
too
profile
much.
on you. You've given them too
Leo's
much.
also being recorded basically 24/7 at this point, so it doesn't even matter.
Anyway,
there's no
true.
more
That's
data
my
to
point. I don't
collect.
have any privacy, so I'm the one who should try this stuff out.
An LLM
that's
could
fair.
just go through all of your shows and
Yes.
create an insurance profile on you that is almost going to be perfect, right? Of what you can do.
All right, we're going to
here's
take a
one
little
of the
break.
AI.
There's
I was about to say, Gizmo, are you smarter than the average AI?
Gizmo has already added a catnip toy to your shopping list.
I was about to say, yeah, it's already en route. She just hit, buy.
how close are we to your company hiring an AI to replace you as a PhD level programmer? Maybe closer than you think. We're going to take a little break. No, Jason says no. That's not going to happen.
House cat level program.
House cat level. Would you let your house cat write your code? I don't know. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll have more. You're watching This Week in Tech. Molly Wood, Jason Hiner, Paris Martineau, and Gizmo the Wonder Cat. It's great to have all four of you. Our show today brought to you by NetSuite. This is why you listen to this show. You want to know what's ahead. What does the future hold? What does the future hold for business? Problem is, you ask 9 experts, you're going to get 10 answers. Rates will rise or fall. Inflation's going up, or maybe it's going down. Could someone please invent a crystal ball, or maybe just a little pearl I can wear on my temple? Until then, over 41,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into a single fluid platform. That's awesome. With one unified business management suite, there's a single source of truth, right? Giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. It's much clearer. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. And when you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backward and more time on what's next. This is what you really need. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. I wish I needed an ERP solution because this is the one I'd use. Right now, there is something you might want to download, a lot smarter than a cat. The CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning. It's available free. They have actually a lot of free white papers there. netsuite.com/twit. But if you're interested in what this means to your business, this is a great place to start. netsuite.com/twit. It's free, along with a lot of wonderful other free stuff at NetSuite, NETSUITE, netsuite.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting. Behind the Curtain. Coming soon, Ph.D. level super agents. This is Axios, Mike Allen, and Jim Vanderhei. It's an opinion piece, so
Yeah.
it's not exactly a news piece.
But
There's some interesting stuff in here. There's some juice. Sam Altman has scheduled a closed-door briefing for U.S. government officials at the end of the month.
the overhyper-in-chief, by the way.
Yes. Shh, I want to tell you a secret.
Yeah.
There is a lot of chatter about AI replacing mid-level software engineers sometime soon, maybe even this year. And so Axios is speculating that maybe what Sam Altman wants to tell Congress about is, I guess, 401 or 402. What's the next one?
Yeah, whatever the next one is. I mean, look, he's been saying, what was it? He was saying recently it was like hundreds of days until, we reach super intelligence. And he's the one that's been overhyping this thing from, the beginning. And that's not to say that LLMs are not an important breakthrough that are going to do some really interesting things, because they are. There's no doubt about that. But Sam Altman, also is grinding an axe with this too, right? He is, moving at first he was at OpenAI saying, no, I'm rich enough. I don't need to make any more money. There's no reason for me. I'm in this for the good of humanity. And now they've sort of changed all of the bylaws and that are in the process of, so that they can, monetize.
Yeah, and he's raised more money than any company in the history of money raising.
So.
Right?
Yeah, I think, him hyping this, it's just tough to really believe that it's not about the race, right? That's not about winning, and OpenAI, gaining as much sort of power and influence as they possibly can. I don't believe that they have anything even close to a PhD. I don't think they have anything close to a house cat, necessarily yet either. So I think, but I think we have to, it's not that OpenAI isn't doing important work, and there's people there that are, but I think, Sam Altman, I think we really have to question, his motives. I think it's good for us to question his motives, and also good for us to really not buy into the hype that he peddles about where OpenAI is and what it does. And the last thing I'll say about the programmer, piece, I don't know about anybody else, but I know in every company I've ever worked for, we can't get the programmers to get enough done fast enough for us to get all the work done we'd like them to do. So I think it's the much more likely scenario, because I think this does replace some types of coding the LLMs can. But in fact, what it's likely to do is make them much more efficient, to make them have them to do a lot more of the sort of really boring, repetitive tasks in coding, so that they become a lot more productive and potentially get projects done faster. I think we're seeing some of that already, and so I actually am more bullish on it being helpful to programmers and not so much putting programmers out of jobs, because it can't do it by itself, right? It can't code things by itself. It still needs to be shepherded by somebody who actually knows what they're trying to build and what they're doing. This has been been said for decades that coders are soon going to be out of business. There was the sort of no code, low code, which is a good thing. There's lots of good things that have come out of that as well. But I think that some of this is some hype, not for, they say those things about coders that aren't true, I think, because they're trying to hype up the value of what these AIs can create, which is still, there's a lot to be shown in terms of their ability to replace work that people are doing. I think that part's just not close.
I do think there's some evidence that AI is scaling very rapidly, smarter and smarter. At the start of the year, last year, AI models scored 5% on the ARC AGI benchmark. September, 32%. OpenAI's O3 claims, and they haven't shown it yet, but they claim that it's at 88% on this AGI
I think you have to take
benchmark.
with a grain of salt, though, that could continue on sort of a linear trajectory, because
it's a lot better. 88%.
It is better. No, I know. But there's also been all these reports about how they're basically running out of data. And, we are running out of things on which to train these AI models. And so the idea that there is just sort of this infinite improvement based on, the quality of the training data, at least, is certainly not the case.
And they're making synthetic data, right, to help train the models, which is also a really weird
I think
challenge.
This stuff is changing so fast that some of those things that we've heard and believe to be true are turning out to be not as much of a problem as we thought. For instance, there's a strong case to be made that we have enough information, that we don't need a whole lot of new information. We just need maybe better LLMs or different models besides LLMs, or more computation capability. There seems to be some real scaling happening. OpenAI's O3 is scoring 25% on a very difficult math benchmark, expert-crafted math problems designed to evaluate advanced reasoning in AI systems. Gemini and ChatGPT-4 solved 2%. OpenAI's O3 is 25%.
Who's based on whose evaluation?
This is a new frontier math benchmark. It's called Frontier Math.
Right, but is it a third party evaluation, or is it the company?
It is, but you're right to be a little skeptical, because OpenAI has announced those scores, but they haven't released the actual information yet.
And how much of it?
I think it's also
how much of
worth-
the tests do they have access to? How much of it's in the training data?
It's worth noting that this narrative that I feel like the AI hype cycle is promoting, which is that every update we're seeing is exponentially better than the last, and it's going to only continue that way. That narrative hasn't really been borne out so far. Already in just a couple months ago, my colleagues, The Information, reported that OpenAI had found that the rate of improvement has has gotten a lot slower for whatever current GPT they're working on, Orion, versus the jumps they'd seen in previous models. And in part, that's because of the data issue. But I think it's worth taking stuff like this into consideration when what we've been sold as kind of a collective is that everything about this is just going to get better and better. It's completely inevitable. So everybody should give us all of their money now, because the victory in this field is just a foregone conclusion at this point.
And by the way, Molly, you're right, because there is a blog post that claims OpenAI funded Frontier Math and had access ahead of time to the problem set. So until we really see, this has to be done kind of in the open instead of an announcement from OpenAI.
There's an AI hype crash that's coming for sure.
It could be, or maybe not. Isn't it possible that we may also be blown away? You don't think that that's possible?
I think both things can be true. Like, I think that there's an AI hype crash coming because it's like, you ask most people, even people I ask in the tech industry, what are the things you use every day that from the AI revolution? And a lot of them struggle to give me. They're like, at the end, they're like, well, I've used ChatGPT to help write a cover letter. They struggle. I'm like, well,
I've talked to a lot of coders, including our own guys, Paul Thurrott and Steve Gibson, who have used it to write code. Well, Jason Snell on MacBreak Weekly says it writes perfect AppleScript. He's been using, I can't remember which one, I think Sonnet, to write his AppleScript.
One of the examples that does work well. Like it saves people time from writing code. Sometimes.
I also had to untangle some of its disasters. So
yes, for sure. It still needs human oversight.
Do you have an AI is going just great site yet?
I do not. No, I don't.
You ask her this every time she's on the show, Leo, and she says, "No, I'm not opening that can of worms."
But you did open the code for the site, so somebody could make that site. I hope somebody will.
It is open source, by all means.
And
use AI to do it.
And use AI to build it, for sure. So the thing is like that. Where AI works really well, and LLMs are starting to change this a little bit, but it's still the case that where there is a very concrete set of data and a very clear set of parameters, AI is better than human, right? So some of the coding, it can do faster than a human because it has a very defined set of parameters. And so it is mostly computational, right? So it's still very good at those things. Where it's not good is where it falls down is where it needs context and it has to fill in gaps where there are
it doesn't even understand context, right? It doesn't know any of that. It's not. That's not how it works. That's
why there's another story in there about, they've been trying to get it to do history, to answer history questions. And
it's not so good at that.
It's about 46% on average, which is really about the same as anybody just guessing. It is not good at those things, anything that demands, those sort of higher levels of understanding. And so I think those are the things that there are promises in the AI ecosystem today that its reach or its reach exceeds its grasp, right? It can't and it won't quite get there. So I think that's why I say that there's a AI hype crash coming, and yet there are also still amazing things that LLMs can do and that are going to continue to drive advances. But like any of these hype cycles, right? There's going to be all of the people that are just in it for the quick buck, right? Are going to flee, and the people who really understand it and really are sort of true believers will stick around. But it could be this year, it could be next year, it could be next month. But I do think there's a crash coming.
Alex Lindsay, who is one of the hosts of MacBreak Weekly, also is in our IRC, or actually in our Discord right now, says he uses Sonnet and ChatGPT to write and compile Swift and Xcode. That's something that was recently added to Apple's Xcode. He uses it to create fully functioning apps, not smooth enough to release, but usable for me. And I have seen startup founders say, we're starting to use AI to write our MVPs because it's fast, quick to market, and we can do that, without hiring somebody to do it.
One thing I think that is kind of remarkable about the Axios piece that you linked is the example that they give is, imagine telling your agent, build me new payment software. The agent could design, test, and deliver a functioning product. And like that example is
let's
about
not do that.
some of the most high risk, highly regulated portions of software. That's like saying fly an airplane for me. They're using one of the riskiest examples in that article, whereas most software engineers will say if you were to use AI, it can do boilerplate well, it can maybe do a prototype, but I would not just ship it out the door and certainly not with payments involved.
Well, I think that underscores what we're talking about here, really underscores that AI is appropriate for some uses, not all. Maybe don't use it as a historian or to write your Cash app. but there are certainly uses for it. And I think
Tons.
maybe we've also gotten a little kind of taking it for granted. We're getting a little jaundiced here. This is pretty amazing what it's able to do right now. Is remarkable. Not something I would have predicted 3 years ago.
I understand that feeling and that impetus to kind of be defensive around it, but I also don't think that. I think that AI is getting its laurels. Nobody I would say could correctly argue that AI isn't being appropriately hyped or hyped enough. It has gotten way more hype than I'd say it deserves given the current reality of the product. I mean, I totally agree as someone who I'd say is a bit of a skeptic in this field. AI and the AI tools and chatbots we have access to currently are incredibly useful in certain limited capacities, and for specific tasks, like what you're just talking about. When you mentioned that coding thing, I realized I've been trying to figure out how to get an animated cursor on my site and doing a thing. Why don't I ask ChatGPT? It, gave me some answers that I'll look into later that could be, quite useful. But I don't think that means that we should extend the entire AI industry enough grace to allow them to do whatever they want and procure as much money as they want without any scrutiny. I think that because this is the biggest industry right now and receiving an outsized amount of attention and frankly money from investors, it deserves scrutiny.
And I also think there's reasonable questions to be asked about, is a tool that can generate code to help you animate your cursor, does that justify the cost in terms of the, energy end of things, the environmental end of things?
Totally agree.
Does the end justify the means? Is a worthwhile question as well.
For instance, I just asked ChatGPT that, and frankly, all of the answers it gave me, I'd already seen from searching through Reddit and Stack Overflow and stuff like that, or other things like that. It was nothing new. But yet, how much environmental damage did I do? Probably shouldn't think about that. But also, we probably should.
Well, it's okay now because your Google searches also use a lot of
everything is bad. It's kind of the good place.
Well, they've incorporated AI into Google, so now everything is wasting that much electricity.
It's true.
Yeah.
We write about AI every day on ZDNet. It's our most popular topic. It has been since almost the month that ChatGPT was released. So, and we write about the good things. We write about the bad things. We ask the questions. We talk about, where the rubber hits the road, the way companies are using it, the way individuals are using it. So there's a lot happening. I do think, and I think it is fair to question some of the overhype. And that's why I really think that the rubber doesn't meet the road where some of the hype is around it. And I think that's why there's a lot of money, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot being poured into it that I think it's gotten over its skis. And so that's because we read stories about it every day. We read the problems people are having with it. We read the things that are going great, the things that are amazing. AI is not going anywhere. It's not going to disappear. But kind of like the .com bust, right? When the .com bust happened, then a lot of the real work got done. Afterwards, when the people hung around and really invested in it, and it wasn't just sort of a hype cycle. But that's how hype cycles go, right? There's sort of the hype cycle, it goes way up. Then there's sort of the trough of disillusionment, and then there's the real work getting done from there. And we have to expect any hype cycle that's as high as what this one is right now. It's going to hit a bumpy moment, inevitably.
I would point out though that after the 2022 crash in crypto, now we have Trump meme coins. So.
Yes.
Something I hadn't thought about is when comparing this to the .com bubble. At least the .com bubble, we got a wacky little sock puppet guy to kind of associate with it. We need to have a weird little mascot for some of the AI companies.
It needs its sock puppet, yeah.
We actually got more than that. We got dark fiber underneath most of the continent, in fact, much of the world. And this is one of the things that does happen with those boom-bust cycles. The same thing happened with the Transcontinental Railway. Those railroads went bankrupt, but we had railways as a result. We got infrastructure as a result. And
Data centers. We're going to get a bunch
Data
of
centers. We're going to have a lot of data centers. We're going to have
A
nuclear
lot of
power
data
plants.
centers in places like Arizona that are already totally running out of water, but the data centers get the water contracts.
I'm
On the
trying to
right side,
find-
they are converting some of the Bitcoin mining rigs into, so that's like, oh,
Hey,
that's something.
I'm trying to find a graph I saw, and I don't remember where I
Not
saw
Bitcoin,
it.
the
crypto. Yeah.
blockchain.
yeah, crypto.
Blockchain, yeah. The I'm trying to find the graph. I can't, but I saw a graph that actually showed in perspective to a lot of the other energy uses. And actually, AI is not the question to a chat GPT is not as bad as it. The truth is, we use energy for everything. Google searches, everything. We're going crazy. Credit card purchases. We are using a ton of
Zoom
energy
meetings.
Yeah,
Zoom
but I mean,
meetings,
the thing is,
podcasts.
yes, I agree.
Bitcoins.
We use electricity and energy for everything, but it is notable the amount of energy that these AI tools use, and the fact that AI is now being woven into absolutely everything with in many cases, there's no way to say, no, I don't want AI to be suddenly part of this other thing that I use every single day, and thus amplifying the environmental impacts of my actions. It's just all getting a bit worse.
And I
What
also
do you
think that like it is notable that it was AI that caused so many of these companies to completely go back on any environmental commitments. You know, that was
Right.
not something that the credit card transactions, required of them, apparently.
Right. Here's the Wall Street Journal article. Thank you, Jason, for putting that in. Jan LaCoon thinks AI is dumber than a cat. I got to point out that was October. Things have changed, okay?
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way. That was months ago. It is the case, and I think that that's something that Steve Gibson pointed out on Security Now, that this is moving faster than anything we've ever seen before, and anything that you think is true today may well not be true tomorrow. And I think it's important to keep an open mind to what is happening, while at the same time acknowledging, we're in a hype cycle. That's for sure true. That's not the case, but I think that there's something happening here. I don't know.
Both things can be true, right? Like we have an overhype cycle and we have interesting and powerful things happening, right?
Yeah. All right, let's take a little break. You're watching This Week in Tech. And I'm sure something else happened, but we'll find it when we come back. Actually, there was CES. Did you go to CES, Jason?
I had a back injury the week before CES.
Oh, you sent people
I wasn't
in your
there.
stead.
I did. I sent folks on my team.
All right. Well, if there's anything besides the AI wristlet and the temple pearl, you let me know.
There are a couple things.
Yeah. Although I'm looking forward to coming on Twig. We're renaming Twig Intelligent Machines, by the way, next month because we want to cover this more. And I'm looking forward to coming on as the boy with the pearl temple piece. I think that'll be my trademark. I'll be like a Borg.
That'll go over really well with me and Jeff and will not result in any ridicule.
I don't mind. I can take it. Our show today brought to you by nothing to ridicule here. This is a very cool product everybody should know about. The Thinkst Canary. We've been talking about Thinkst Canaries for 8 years. This is our 8th year that we've been working with these guys. Thinkst is made up of people who have trained governments, corporations, how to hack into systems. They are white hat hackers, and they know exactly what hackers are looking for when they penetrate your defenses. The problem is companies often are not looking for somebody inside their network. You can have the best perimeter defenses in the world, but once somebody gets in, how do you know they're there? On average, it takes 91 days for a company to realize they've been breached, unless they have a Thinkst Canary or 2 or 3. They're honeypots. They look like little external USB drives. You can scatter them around your network. It's easy to deploy them. You plug them into the wall, you plug them into your Ethernet, and you're done. Actually, then you go, and this is the best part of it, you go to your console and you choose the personality for your Thinkst Canary. Because it's a honeypot, it can be almost anything. A web server, a Linux box, a Windows box. It can have a few discrete services turned on. You can light it up like a Christmas tree. My canary over here is a Synology NAS. In every case, it looks exactly like what it's pretending to be. For instance, it has the Synology MAC address. It's got the login screen looks exactly like DSM-7. I mean, it is, for all intents and purposes, from the outside a Synology NAS, except when the bad guy hits it and tries some passwords, you're going to know. You're going to get immediate alerts. You can also use your Things Canary to spread files around your network. This is cool too. Little Excels or PDF or doc files. Give them provocative names like employee information. Just scatter them about. But the minute somebody tries to open it, you're going to get an alert. Your Things Canary will immediately tell you you've got a problem. Just no false alerts, just the alerts that matter. And by the way, you can get it any way you want. Email, text. You can get Slack message. You can get, it supports webhooks. There's an API. You have your, of course, syslog. You have your console. So choose a profile for your device. Have it be a variety of things. Register with a hosted console for monitoring and notifications. And then you just wait. An attacker who's breached your network or malicious insiders, any adversary will make themselves known by accessing your Things Canary. They can't help themselves. They don't look vulnerable. They look valuable. Once they do, you know who they are and what to do about it. Everybody needs this. This is part of your layered defense. Visit canary.tools/twit. You can find out. Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say you want 5 Things Canaries. Typically, a bank might have hundreds. It really depends on how big your operation is. But let's say, just for an example, 5 Things Canaries. $7,500, that's for a whole year. You get your own hosted console. Of course, all the upgrades, support, and maintenance are included. By the way, if you use the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, you're going to get 10% off. And not just for that first year, but for as long as you use Things Canaries, 10% off. Here's another thing that'll maybe reassure you. I know this is for some of you a new idea, but you can always return your Things Canary. They have a 2-month, 60-day money-back guarantee for a full refund. So there's absolutely no risk. I do have to tell you, though, we've been doing this for years now. As I said, 8 years. Not one refund guarantee request. No refund has ever been claimed. Once you get the Things Canary, you'll see why you needed it. Visit canary.tools/twit. Enter the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box. Canary.tools/twit. I love this thing, the Things Canary. We're so glad to have him back with us for 2025. Canary.tools/twit. Thank you, Thingst. Okay. Samsung's coming up. By the way, so CES is over. Apple doesn't go. Microsoft doesn't go. IBM, nobody goes. Just a lot of smaller companies and TV manufacturers and car manufacturers. Samsung wasn't there, but they are going to have their own event. That's why people don't need to go to CES anymore. Wednesday, the S25 event. Now, Jason, I'm trying to figure out if I should get up early on Wednesday, an hour before Windows Weekly, and cover this. We've seen everything there is to be seen about the S25, yes?
I mean, yes, probably. Like it's got the new chip from Qualcomm that they announced, last fall. I mean, they're going to talk AI. Speaking of AI, a lot of AI. Right? They're going to talk a lot about AI. Samsung's not a software company. It's never gone really well for them from a software standpoint. There is Bixby.
Just say the words Bixby.
Bixby's every time still around.
I have a Bixby button on my TV remote, and it makes me so mad when I hit it by accident.
There used to be a Bixby button on the phone too.
Yeah.
For a while.
Terrible.
Yeah. So the most interesting thing is, will there be a tease from this event? If you remember last year, they teased that the Ring was coming. They didn't really show it.
Right.
So
is the Ring out? The Ring is out now, right?
The Ring is out.
Okay.
Yep. And it's not bad. I mean, the most interesting thing is that they were the first of the big tech companies to really release a smart ring, right? These have mostly been done by kind of smaller companies, mostly startups, led by Aura, of course. So the most interesting thing is, will Samsung tease something? And there's kind of 4 possibilities of what they could tease. One, and this would be very Samsung, Apple, of course, is rumored to be releasing the iPhone Slim this year. And so it would be
By the way, Slim is 2 millimeters thinner. It's not, right. That's not really noticeable.
That's sort of as much as the phone 2 years ago, I think it was, because they've been getting thicker, right? So
right.
Anyway, so Apple is rumored to be doing a slim version of the iPhone this year. So it would be just like Samsung to tease sort of, and we're also going to do a Galaxy S25 Slim, potentially this year. We'll see. That wouldn't be that interesting, to be honest. There's the Galaxy Ring 2. Maybe they tease that. Again, wouldn't be super interesting. But now it starts to get more interesting. They announced this XR headset. Not great timing, right? XR headsets are not having the moment that they were a year ago, for sure. So, but they did announce Project Mohan, and maybe they tell us more about when that's coming.
Would they use their own software? Would they license Meta's software? Would it be Android?
Android XR would be what they
actually
would
even
do.
Meta's using Android now, aren't they? Yeah.
Theirs has always been based on a version of Android, a proprietary version, a basically modded version of Android. So the most interesting thing of the scenarios, if they were to tease something, would be their competitor to Ray-Ban, the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. The crazy thing is these glasses, they mostly are just audio, but they were probably one of the hottest selling products last year in terms of stuff that was sold out. And so now we know, because last fall, the Qualcomm CEO teased that Qualcomm, Meta, and Google were working on a pair of smart glasses. So this has already been teased that it's out there and it's coming. And I think that people are much more interested in smart glasses than they are in VR headsets, for sure.
I think you're right.
And the interesting thing, we did a little bit of reporting on this, and what we found last year when the Ray-Ban Metas were sold out so much, we went into some of the like sunglass huts and lens crafters where they sell these things. And the interesting thing was, a lot of times they had these kiosks in there, right? And a lot of times when these tech companies put these kiosks in places like this, the people on the show floor, on the floor, like selling them, they know nothing about them, right? Or if they tell you information about them, it's often wrong. So this was interesting. The people that we talked to, they knew these products very well, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, we don't have one of those you can look at, but the guy down at the that sells the jewelry at the jewelry store, go down there. He has a pair, and he loves them, and he'll tell you about them. And by the way, I bought a pair for my girlfriend, and she loves them. She wears them to the beach, and we take photos when we go on vacations. And so it was really interesting. We found that the sort of average, the interest from that sort of average person on these was pretty high. And that was when most of them were sold out in the first quarter last year. And then, of course, since then, they've been selling much better. So, they don't do a lot. But even having a little bit of a camera, this is like a camera that's only as good as like the iPhone 12 or 13. Yeah. But that's fine, right? For most people, being able to use your sunglasses to take a photo instead of there you go, you got them. And it means you don't have to take your camera out of your pocket on vacation. People like that. They also are good for like listening to podcasts and listening to audiobooks and things like that, taking a phone call. So people seem to like this far more and are showing far more interest in this than they are in any VR headsets.
I'm interested in what you've, I guess, heard from people just generally about their reasons for liking the Meta glasses. Because I mean, I know this is totally anecdotal, but everyone I've talked to who's a big Meta like Ray-Ban glasses fan, I've asked them about what they use it for, and they don't use any of the AR features. It is always, they're like, I like being able to listen to music
earbuds
or podcasts without having it in my ear. That's every single time.
By the way.
And it sounds good.
I know.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that they're popular. Like, maybe this is just a one-off of all the people I talk to, but if that is a larger trend, I think it's interesting that their popularity is being seen as a sign that AR products are something that folks want, when it could just be people want headphones options that aren't little pods in your ears.
Don't they make like bone conducting headphones though?
They do. Yeah, we had an advertiser that made
I don't know, and I've asked
but they are
people.
better than the bone.
They're better than
Are
that.
they? Yeah, I've never used them, so I don't know.
Yeah. And you can say, hey, Meta, what am I looking at right now?
But how often do you do that?
Never. I just got these out. I wasn't even sure if they were charged.
Like when I tried your glasses though, Leo, it was really the audio quality.
The audio's amazing.
That's the thing that really surprised me, that it sounded good. So I think that's enough. That's really enough to sell those things.
Whether it's these glasses or the Brilliant Labs glasses or the wrist or even the temple piece, people are intrigued by what's going to be next. And they just want a little taste of it. They know this isn't going to change their lives. In fact, it's good that they got some use out of it. It's a decent headphones. But honestly, I think people want to be part of they want to kind of see into the future, don't they?
What's
next? Or is that just me?
So I think the research that we had is very similar to what you said, Paris. So like mostly they use them to take phone calls and listen to podcasts and not have to have, things in their ears. The one asterisk to that was a few people who work in jobs where like their hands might be full, right? And they or so like somebody IT professionals working in a server room, and they're like, they're trying to remember, what was that? What's the name of this product versus that one? And they'll do the sort of hey meta thing, or even just you can hold down the button to do it and ask the question, and they'll ask the question when they've got other stuff in their hands, and essentially doing like a Google search from their glasses, audibly without having to pull out their phone. So people did like just being able to do some searches. It doesn't always work. It was like maybe people have said 50% of the time it works, but they like the idea that there are some cases where they can do it hands-free if they're working with their hands on something. So that's the only thing we found that people were using it for a lot. But these things, to Meta's credit, and I don't really trust Meta, I'll be honest, like with much data, but to their credit, they have actually added features throughout the year. There really wasn't a lot you could do with them before, right? Except to essentially do that audio search. But they now do have that thing of like, what's the name of this monument or painting that I'm looking at, or things like that. Yeah, searches, some visual searches, Google Lens kind of searches, and some other things like where you can make a note essentially, and those sort of deals. But I think they are still very early in this. But I think the usability of it does seem to be attracting people a little bit more.
We're gonna get there. I don't think Samsung's got anything any different than what Meta's doing, and I think people probably buy Meta's just because it's Meta. Right. Well,
they are working with Google, though. So I think that this is supposedly a partnership. What the Qualcomm CEO talked about in September was that Meta, Google, and Qualcomm. Samsung, Google, and Qualcomm. Sorry, not Meta. We're working on this smart
this is
glasses
Project
competitor.
Muhan.
That's not so. Project Muhan is the XR headset.
Oh, that's the AR. Okay,
that's right. This is something different.
This is something else.
And does Samsung have the brand name glasses too, like how Meta went with Ray-Ban, or there's just like
I know we don't
look
really
like
know.
Ray-Bans.
I'm
find
curious
out on
if
Wednesday.
they found another one.
Yeah.
You found something we want to know.
That picture is of Meta Ray-Bans. That's
right.
What the Samsung,
Oh, okay.
Who knows? But then
for
again,
a second, I thought that they managed to get a partnership with Ray-Ban too, and the Ray-Ban was just like playing the field.
No. That said, like there's plenty of other glasses providers they could, they could partner with.
Well, I mean, Ray-Ban is part of Luxottica, which is like every glasses.
All the brands. It's true.
Okay, well, I'll be back Wednesday, maybe at 10 a.m., maybe at 11. I don't know yet.
They might bring a new set of glasses.
That's true. With the new glasses, they might wait for Mobile World Congress to do that. That's too. Probably the only, maybe asterisk there.
Yeah.
I think you should find a way to wear all the glasses at once and compare them live simultaneously.
Well, I think I will do all the wristbands at once and the temple piece. Just like I really do. I know it's crazy, and I know it's a huge invasion of privacy and everything, but I think there's something there to listening to everything I do throughout the day and giving me summaries, action items. I feel like that's useful. And
I mean, how else would I know that you have strong opinions about bleach in laundry if not for that's something they went over on this
and
week in Google.
I do. It does make some hysterical mistakes. In fact, Apple is now finally admitting that, maybe the AI summaries The Apple
The
Intelligence
AI
summaries of
summaries
news.
are so bad.
They're rough.
Like,
I think they're
rough.
funny.
they're bad.
That's
Okay, they're funny, but they're just bad at what they're supposed to be doing. Something I've realized where they are true, because I've turned them off on almost all the apps, but I still have a few on in the hopes that they're okay or just as a data gathering thing. And for instance, when it comes to summarizing notifications from Twitter or Blue Sky, it's just wrong every time. It will say, Leo commented on your post.
Yeah.
Leo did not. Leo didn't even like my post. Where is that coming from? I don't
Right.
know, but it's wrong every time. And I'm just like, how are you so bad at the thing you're supposed to do? Like, you just have 3 data points. How are you struggling to summarize those into one sentence?
Well, Apple has announced that they're going to they're going to turn off the news summaries, but they're also going to italicize them. That's the fix, by the way. So they're now going to be italicized. So you'll know that I don't know what you'll know. It's italicized.
Yeah, didn't they get into some hot water where
BBC
they were
is
like,
pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They like attributed some stuff to the news outlets that was just absolutely wrong.
So the AI summaries, and by the way, this is from a beta of iOS. It's not, Apple hasn't announced anything. But if BBC did a little victory lap. Apple suspends error-strewn AI-generated news alerts. But we don't know what's going to really happen. This is just in
One
a beta.
example of how it's getting this wrong. Right now, I have an AI summary for New York Times notifications that says, Trump promised to repeal executive actions. Israel released 90 Palestinian prisoners. The first point of that, completely wrong. The thing it's trying to summon says Donald Trump promised to sign executive orders.
Right.
Not repeal them.
Completely wrong.
But,
yeah.
well.
I have them turned on just because they're hysterical. Look, you shouldn't look at those and say, oh my God. You should look at them and go, I wonder what they're really saying.
I just think, I'm not
that's the
saying from
intended purpose.
Yeah, I just think it's very interesting that Apple used to be known as a company that wouldn't release a product that was completely, or an update that was completely terrible and bad at doing what it stated it was supposed to do. And so, now it is because AI.
Right.
2024 was a rough year for them. They should not have released the Vision Pro the way they did. We wrote about this in January.
This is the 1-year anniversary, by the way, of the release of the Vision Pro, the announcement of the Vision Pro.
It's changed everything, guys. I mean, we're all talking we're all podcasting
skeptical.
with our
Legless
avatars. Have you been on a call with somebody using the Vision Pro thing?
Yeah,
Either of you guys?
it's brutal. It is brutal.
It's genuinely terrifying. It looks terrifying. It's the most uncanny valley thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's brutal. So we wrote about this in January. You know, we sort of gave it we said, look, technologically, they've accomplished something really interesting, but we cannot recommend it for one single person other than if you are a developer wanting to develop for this maybe longer term for AI on the bet that you want to get ahead. But even then, we just can't recommend it. And they've marketed it to the wrong people. Like they want it as this like movie device to watch movies in airplanes. Why would you want to do that and not just use your iPad? Like it's crazy. And so now we took a lot of flack for that. We also recommended everybody that bought it. We sort of said if you buy it, you've got we publicized the return policy very clear. That this is the return policy. Know it, be ready because you're very likely going to want to return it. And we saw that probably the most returned product ever. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't a technological breakthrough because in many ways it was, but it was not marketed well. It was a developer kit that they somehow decided they wanted to turn it into a movie watching device, and it just can't compete with an iPad. Then you have AI. They released AI really too early, as Paris was saying. When they really were not, those products were not ready yet. And so 2024, I think, is going to go down as one of the most challenging years when Apple really departed from some of its core values in the ways that it brings product to market and releases them. And they've got a lot of work to do this year to sort of fix some of the missteps from last year.
Let's take a little break, final break before I can't believe how fast 2 hours went by before we wrap things up. You're watching This Week in Tech. Jason Hiner, love you. It's great to see you. Editor-in-Chief, ZDNet. He has a little fez behind him. Look at that, right beneath your Mac Plus or Mac Pro. Right there. There's the fez. Molly White, would you like a fez, Molly? Because we can get you one.
I would love a fez.
You want a fez? All right, fez is for all. MollyWhite.net. Yay! And of course, Paris Martineau, who is the host of the last few episodes. Actually, one more episode of This Week in Google, and then on your birthday, February 5th, the brand new show, Intelligent Machines, where I go crazy about how wonderful AI is, and you and Jeff shoot me down. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, it'll be great. Will I be there on the day we rebrand? Will I be eating a multi-course meal somewhere in Brooklyn?
You think you might not be there for the show?
It depends. I need to check my Resi notifications, honestly. It depends on when I am able to obtain the reservation.
You're trying to get a reservation.
I am, We'll find out.
What if I say I can get you a reservation for Salt Hank's sandwich restaurant in the West Village?
I'd hope so. I'd hope I'm able to go to Salt Hank's Sandwich Restaurant in the former home of Slutty Vegan.
That's right. Right next to John's Pizza on Bleecker Street. But it won't be, unfortunately, in time for your birthday. It won't be probably till, well, you know how it is with restaurants. It's so funny. He's already bitching about regulations.
I was going to say, the permitting process for Open That Baby is going to take forever.
He's already
Quickly
saying.
they turn Republican.
I know. He says, oh man, this Eric Adams, he's killing me here. It's pretty funny.
And you got to be like, son, pay a visit to Zero Bond, slip a couple 20s over on that table, and your problems will be taken care of.
I just told him that this is what happens. In fact, I think John Dvorak used to quote, who was it? Was it Thoreau? Says, if you're not a liberal in your youth, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative in your old age, you have no brains. Or you don't have a sandwich restaurant in New York City. But
I think
either
that's
way.
what he said, yeah.
That was probably the latter. Yeah, that sounds like Thoreau.
He says, Dad, what's going on? What's going on? I said, son, it's society protecting itself against you corrupt moguls. So there. Someday, maybe he will be a mogul. I hope to be the father of an oligarch.
Sandwich mogul.
Sandwich mogul. Our show,
That'd be a good name for a restaurant, actually.
Sandwich mogul.
Sandwich mogul.
Yeah. I'll suggest it. He was going to call it Salt Hank because that's, his name and all that. But
I just bought the domain sandwichmogul.com.
Yeah, well, I just trademarked it, so.
Oh, man.
He's going to have to make some
happens
calls.
fast now.
He is a sandwich mogul. It's twoo. It's twoo. Our show today brought to you by, actually, there's no accident. There are no coincidences. Shopify. How did Henry become a sandwich mogul? Thank you, Shopify. If you go to his website, salthank.com, and you buy some of his delicious salts, soon, by the way, pickles, pickled cucumbers, pickled peppers, pickled onions, you'll be using Shopify. It's 2025. A new year means new opportunities. Maybe for a lot of you out there, you've been thinking about one thing over the holidays, starting your own business, looking at people like Salt Hank. Salt Hank asked me, my son asked me, he said, how do I do this? How do I come up with a brand? How do I sell stuff to people? What? And he said, what, Dad? What am I even going to sell? I said, son, sell salt. The profit margins are high and it never goes bad. And he's doing really well. He answered his own questions. Shopify fixed it for him. The best time to start your new business right now. Shopify. By the way, my daughter also uses Shopify to sell her custom t-shirts. Come to think of it, the whole family uses Shopify. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open your business, and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. There's no coding or design skills required. All you need to do, just drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with the details like shipping, like taxes, payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff like growing your business. What happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if somebody beats you to your brilliant idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything. Ladies and gentlemen, with Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Established in 2025. That is a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/twit. Go to shopify.com/twit. Start selling with Shopify today. It's all lowercase. Shopify.com/twit. Shopify. And if you look at your Salt Hank's site, powered by Shopify. As much as we said that TikTok was empowering for him, I think he'll agree. Shopify made it possible for him to start a business. And ultimately, that's kind of the dream of the whole thing. The Salt Lovers Club. There it is. Home to the best pickles and seasoning in the effing world. Let me see. Oh, look.
Huge
you can get the
Salt Hank night for you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the pickles. There's the pickles coming soon. Get the cookbook. It's out now. There he is. And somewhere in here it says powered by Shopify. It's pretty cool. It's pretty darn cool. Thank you, Shopify. Makes it easy for me. Don't have to support him anymore. Let's see. What else? Is there anything else in our U.S. finalizes rule banning smart cars with Russia and Chinese tech? See, while they're banning or unbanning and banning and unbanning TikTok, they're going and actually banning Chinese cars. I wonder why. Is there anybody in the United States who sells smart vehicles?
No, couldn't be.
No. Actually, Biden did this, which is hysterical. I wonder actually what the Trump administration is going to do about AI. Silicon Valley thinks they're very favorable to AI. Mark Andreessen said that's the whole reason he became a Trump supporter, because the Biden administration wanted AI to be controlled by a handful of big companies. I don't know if that's true.
Who's the guy who's the new AI czar? Is that David Sachs?
David Sachs.
David
Another
Sachs.
South African.
AI and crypto.
Oh,
yeah.
Together.
Sorry.
Even though he does not have a dog in either hunt, which actually is probably good. It's just unusual.
Probably has a dog at a lot of hunts, actually.
Yeah, I would not be so confident on that
He's
statement.
never, let's put it this way, he's never run a crypto or AI company. How about that?
The bar's in hell, if that's the bar.
Yeah, I think he's on the boards of lots of
probably.
things. Yeah.
Good, because you don't really want
But you
somebody...
can obfuscate your involvement that way. Sorry, it's so cynical. So cynical.
You are.
But I don't think that boy, the it's like, talk about DDoS, like DDoSing, conflicts of interest have been DDoSed so badly already before this thing has even started that it's like, where do you even...
There's no such thing.
Where do you even... It's like, just throw up your arms and say, how
There is absolutely such a thing as
I think they're actually each trying to hit the high score. That's my theory.
They want the maximum.
Trying to hit the high score.
Who gets the maximum
conflicts of interest? I mean, and it's the same in money and politics. It's like, what happened? Like, it was less than a generation ago where the number one political issue was like campaign finance reform. And now it's just like, again, just throwing up the arms on conflict of interest and money and politics. It's like, remove all the caps, remove all of the restraints, remove everything. People spend as much money as they want, waste as much money as they want, essentially, on political campaigns. And
is it a waste? Is it really a waste? We all laughed when Elon Musk spent $44 billion on Twitter. I think he got his money worth.
How so?
I mean, the crypto guys that spent, they raised $200 million and they've already made it back in terms of just Bitcoin gains and stock price increases.
They have hundreds of members of Congress. They've got a pro-crypto White House. Yeah, I think the money pays off. I think you could argue that Elon's X has become a very powerful source of information and ultimately of power.
I thought you were talking about Grimes for a second.
I also thought you were
Grimes, as well as Grimes. I think...
Everybody's wondering what Grimes is talking about.
She's so powerful.
She is moving into the compound. I thought she was the only holdout, but she's
baby
changed
compound.
She's moving into the Musk baby compound.
I just never thought these are the kind of things we talk about on TWiT. You know.
All right, let's talk about this. Bill Gates.
I'm only kidding.
Bill Gates, there's a name you might remember from a blast from the past, has been promoting these new nuclear power plants that use salt instead of water. They're called Natrium plants. Got the permit to start building in Wyoming. They still do not have permits from the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission. But how long before that will happen? There's Bill. I wonder if he knows how to drive one of those bulldozers. The Wyoming Industrial Siting Council has granted a construction permit to Terra Power for its Natrium nuclear power plant. These are, I don't know, can you call them pocket power plants? It's safer, they say, because they're not using water for cooling. The unique Natrium design enables the company to start non-nuclear construction. So that's it. They are able to build every bit but the nuclear part until they get the NRC approval. I get it. There are lots of people who think we need nuclear power, that's the most proximate way to get out of burning fossil fuels.
It's true. You know, I think the thing, we haven't built nuclear plants in like 40 years in the U.S.
Very, very expensive.
Very expensive. But we know a lot more as a sort of world community. We know a lot more about building safe, efficient, better nuclear plants than we did 40 years ago, when sort of the worst, scares of what can happen when you don't do it well, sort of stopped everybody from building them. So I think it certainly deserves a look, right? I think we've run up against challenges with when it comes to energy and technology. Like we've run up against challenges of efficiency, of storage, of being able to transfer, solar, wind, hydro. We can harness those things really well. But one of our challenges is the power grid, right? We don't export. We can't move power around very well, which is why we still are as dependent on oil as we are. And so, there's a number of problems that have to be solved. And so I think that Bill Gates and others are showing this interest because we've hit some challenges of power with the other clean power methods that what I was just talking about. But it certainly should be part of the conversation. I think, and that's why people are starting to sort of make the case that it could be part of a clean energy future. But of this century, I think still power is going to be the number one concern. It powers everything, and the more that we get into AI and crypto and other things, the more it creates urgency around solving the challenges.
We need the power. We need the power. These are littler plants. They run. They're cooled with liquid sodium. The plant will generate 345 megawatts of power, capable of ramping up to 500 megawatts for short periods of time. To compare, the 3 Mile Island plant that that Microsoft is bringing back online does well over 800 megawatts of power. So these are about half the size of 3 Mile of the single. There were 3 Mile Island had multiple plants of the single 3 Mile Island plant that's coming back. So but they plan to put, if it goes well, dozens of Natrium plants across the globe, including several more in Wyoming. And certainly Bill Gates has the money to do it. First steps. Cash App fined $175 million for its, according to the CFPB, its woefully incomplete response to fraud. I love how the Biden administration, in the waning hours of the administration, has just done all of this stuff, knowing that already Musk has said and Doge have said that the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau should be deleted, I think is the word they used. So they're trying to do as much as they can before they are deleted. They fined Cash App because it implied it failed to address fraud on the mobile payment network. It created the conditions for fraud to proliferate. When things went wrong, Cash App flouted its responsibilities, even burdened local banks with problems. The company caused Cash you may remember, is run by Block, which is Jack Dorsey's company. It was a Jack Dorsey startup after, I think he was still at Twitter when he started it. He was running it and Twitter for quite some time, as I remember.
He renamed it to Block during the blockchain craze, the 2021 blockchain trade. Now he's kind of like, oh, well, I guess we don't want to go back. You know?
At least it's kind of vague, though. Like, you can get away with that.
It's true.
It's Block-ish. It's not blockchain, it's just Block-ish. Yeah.
One thing that's sort of tangential to this is the CFPB also recently published, I think at this point it's like in the comment stage, but they are looking to basically interpret that same, I think it's that same rule to apply to both crypto holdings and also some digital game assets that are sort of cash-like.
Yes. Because
so
they should be, they're treated, you can trade them in for dollars. They should be regulated. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. So the idea is like basically the same law that makes it so that if you leave your debit card in an ATM and someone withdraws $200 and you call your bank within like a pretty short period of time, your bank will give you that money back. They basically want to have that same type of thing apply to crypto assets and like if someone steals all your Robux or whatever, which is, I think, really interesting. But also, given the political end of things, I'm not super confident that is going to go anywhere.
I'm hoping that RFK Jr. gets behind this. Now, smokers may not be like this much, but the FDA has proposed reducing nicotine in cigarettes from 14% to less than 1% to a literally non-addictive level, which means you'd basically be buying some herbs that you could burn that didn't deliver. They were not a nicotine delivery system. This is not going to be a rule until there's a long comment period. I think it's 8 or 9 months. But they're proposing to cap the nicotine level at 0.7 milligrams of per gram of tobacco.
And what about like vapes and stuff like that? Are they still allowed to have nicotine?
It would apply to cigarettes, cigarette tobacco, roll your own tobacco, most cigars, and pipe tobacco, but not e-cigarettes, nicotine pouches, heated tobacco
would be huge
products
for the vape industry.
Hookahs. There's going to be an explosion of hookah bars, smokeless tobacco products, or premium cigars. Yeah, I think it just creates a black market for nicotine delivery systems.
Man.
Yeah, they legalize weed and they criminalize nicotine.
That's right. What a world. What a world. All right, I think we can stop right here and say we have done our job of bringing light to the world, explaining what's happening in the world around us. Molly, I'm always so glad to have Molly White with us. mollywhite.net. Subscribe to Citation Needed. It's her newsletter. Of course, Web3 is going just great. Is Citation Needed your big thing? But you do a lot of podcasts too, I know.
Yeah, I am a professional podcast guest.
Yeah, and the best. That's why you're so good. You can read her work at mollywhite.net. Thank you so much for being here. I knew as soon as I saw the Trumpcoin come out yesterday, I said, I'm so glad we got Molly. Thank you, Molly.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Always great to have you on. Same for you, Jason Hiner. He is the EIC at ZDNet. And just a good guy all around. It's always great to have you on. I appreciate it. I didn't get to ask you about CNET. Was there anything you got excited about besides all of those great AI bracelets?
There was some interesting stuff this year. I will say the sort of most interesting and a little bit strange thing was there was these set of headphones, over-the-ear headphones. They looked like they were over-the-ear headphones. And when you put them on, what they are is they're actually ear cleaners. And they shoot water into your ears.
No.
And they have cameras that show it washing, what your ears look like being washed by this thing. So this was like one of the most CES products ever.
Did you, you weren't there.
This is like that bit at the end of 30 Rock where Jack Donaghy's like, oh, I've got it. It's dishwashers, but the front is clear so you can see what's going on inside. It's just
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
Exactly.
I think it's an ear bidet.
Yeah.
It's like an ear bidet. That is the perfect
But
word
with a
for
camera.
I
with a
want
camera
one.
to watch your ear canal
Leo's
getting
already
cleaned.
purchased this.
I'm
By the
looking
time
where I
you're-
can buy this. Is it a real product or it was just a perspective?
No, I believe it is a actual real product that is for sale. And
Here it is.
Yeah.
These ear cleaning headphones I saw at CES make so much sense. Written by Jada Jones on
Bieber
ZDNet.
Earsight Flow is the name of this
This
product.
can't become mainstream
How
because
much
as
do they
someone
cost?
who uses Q-tips way more than I should, there can't be another level of this for me to mess my ears up.
$199, Molly. They're sold
It's actually
out.
less than I expected.
Yeah.
Inventory is on the way. I'm ordering it right now. I'll wear them with my brilliant glasses.
There you go.
And I'll be
This
a
is
chick
This is a
magnet.
Leo product. You know, Leo, I have to say, like, how much I love that you are the techno optimist of
I am,
always,
still.
always.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that about you. And at the end of the day, you know, I mean, I know I was also we were poo-pooing a lot of things on here, and it's part of our job. But you know, I do think it is true that, you know, the optimists do own the future, and so I love it served you well, and you've always been had such an amazing perspective on the tech industry, and it's why
I'm not a Robert Scoble. Let's not go crazy. I'm not like
True.
everything is the best thing ever. But I hope that we can come up with some things that are going to make our lives a little bit better. And I'm also completely willing when it doesn't to admit that. I was very skeptical about the Vision Pros,
yes,
for instance.
You were.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Not to rain on this great optimism parade and all the wonderful. If you scroll down on the Earsight Flow, it has a photo of what you could see inside your ear, and it's the
Yes.
most upsetting thing I've seen in a while. It's not good.
I don't know. I think I want this. I think this.
No, the one that was like the yellow hole,
I've never
the yellow
seen-
fleshy hole. No.
I've
Well,
never seen
what
the
is that?
inside of my ear, and I think I'm happy to leave it that way.
There's some things that we just shouldn't know.
I'm just sad I can't buy it right now. That's all.
Yeah, your ears are going to be really clean this year.
I need
Leo, I have a feeling.
I need it. I do. B-Bird. B-Bird sells a lot of other stuff. Let's
That's
see.
the sign of a great product.
They started.
If you go to their homepage, it's something that just says "Love resonates in every ear care moment."
Apparently, mostly what they do is ear stuff.
Yeah, they're
There's like,
specialized.
They have a niche.
Oh,
Oh, my
God.
God.
Oh. Wow.
I don't know what that was, and I can't unsee it. Oh, I'm
jump
so
scare.
sorry to do that to you. I hope you were watching the video. Oh. Paris Martineau will be back on Wednesday, right? For This Week in
That's
Google.
true.
And every weekend on theinformation.com. So great to have you, Paris. I appreciate it. We wanted to have you on our year-end show. You couldn't make it. But
I've had a series of unfortunate events that have kept me from TWiT the last couple weeks, so I'm glad I'm finally
We're so
here.
glad we could get you on. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. We do TWiT every Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. You can watch us do it live if you would like. We stream it. Used to be 8 platforms. We can't get back on TikTok for some reason. It won't let us on. I think there's maybe
Your
a
day
hitch.
is coming.
It's coming, I guess. But so we weren't on TikTok this week. If we can get back on TikTok, we certainly will. Discord, YouTube, Twitch, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick, and maybe next time on TikTok. That's so you can watch live, but you don't have to watch live. I didn't mention Discord. That is actually an exclusive behind the velvet rope experience, exclusive to our Club TWiT members. Now, if you're not a member of Club TWiT, I want to invite you to join. It's one of the ways that we keep ourselves on the air. It's really been a great experience all around. We've met some wonderful people, about 12,000 people in our club. $7 a month. You get ad-free versions of the shows. You get access to the Club TWiT Discord, so you can meet the other club members. There are special shows just for you, like Stacy's Book Club, the photo show, and the coffee show, and all that. So for more information, twit.tv/clubtwit. I also want to remind you, you have a couple weeks maybe left to do our survey. I think we'll finish it at the end of the month. That is how we get to know you. We only do this once a year. As you know, as a podcast, we're an RSS feed. This ain't Spotify, kids. We don't know anything about you. So in order to get to know you a little better, we do this survey thing. It takes about 10 minutes. We do it once a year just to get an idea of who's out there, who's listening. It's helpful for us in determining programming. It's also really helpful for us in selling advertising. We don't tell them anything about you individually, but it's nice for us to be able to say, well, 75% of our audience are IT decision makers. That's something advertisers want to know. And so if you would, twit.tv/survey, member of the club or not, that's another way you can help us out. Any help you can give us, we really appreciate. After the fact, on-demand versions of all of our shows available at the website, twit.tv. When you get there, there's also a link to the YouTube channel for Twit. Great way to share little clips if you want to do that. Let's see, what else? Oh, best way to get it is to subscribe in your favorite podcast client. That way you'll get it automatically at the minute Benito finishes polishing it up. Thanks to Benito Gonzalez, our producer. Are you editing tonight, or is it Kevin editing it tonight?
Kevin tonight.
Kevin. All right. Well, thanks to Kevin King, then, for taking out all this cuss words and that part where I lit my hair on fire and all that stuff. You won't see that. Thanks to Kevin. And you'll be able to get that if you subscribe, audio or video, in just a few hours after the show ends. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is our 20th anniversary year. We've been doing this I know, it's amazing, for a long time. And I am very grateful to all the people who make this show possible, including you three. It's fantastic. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. And as I have said, for 20 years, another Twit is in the can.
This is
Bye-bye.
amazing.